subscribe to my sister's channel. She will also voice her favorite plots. Let's give her a big asset. Now a boy with wheat-colored hair disheveled in all directions is walking along the wide streets of Konoha. His eyes were as blue as the sky, but his gaze was heavy and empty. He was thinking about what he was doing all this for. He had no parents, but he had a best friend who supported him in everything. A feeling of despair and joy mixed together. This morning he came to the Hokage's residence and was told something he never expected to hear. Flashback: Naruto was already approaching the office of the head of the village. They had to tell him one very important thing before entering the academy. To be honest, he didn't care what he heard there. He wanted to get home to Sasuke as soon as possible. Yes, during all this time that they were friends, Naruto managed to get very attached to this girl. After all, she was the first to recognize him for what he is. In the morning, she even wanted to go to the Hokage with him. The blonde man saw in front of him, Mr. Third and, to Naruto's surprise, Fugaku Uchiha. It was a big shock for the guy to see the head of the strongest clan in the village here. Minato's son felt that the upcoming conversation would be difficult. "Naruto, sit down," Sarutobi said, pointing to the chair opposite him. "Actually, we called you in order to give you what belongs to you," said the old man and held out a scroll, already with a familiar seal for the boy. "You probably know what kind of seal it is." "I know, the seal of the Uzumaki clan," the guy said in frustration, but he knew who his parents were. "No wonder they call you the genius of Konoha," the head of the village said with a smile. "I would like to get down to business. I don't think you called me for the sake of one scroll." The blonde man hit the target again. "You're right. We would like to tell you about your ancestor," the head of the Uchiha began. "Namely about Madara Uchiha." "Madara?" the guy said questioningly. "You didn't mix anything up?" "No, you are a direct descendant of the founder of our clan," Satsuki's father finished. "And what do you want from me?" Naruto asked, having already recovered from the shock. "Your father's last wish was that you should find your great-grandfather. This scroll will help you with that," explained Hokage. "Did father know that our ancestor was from Uchi?" The son of the fourth asked the question gloomily. "Yes," Fugaku replied shortly. "I'll go. Thank you for the scroll and information, Hokage-sama," the blonde thanked the head of the village. End flashback. Young Uzumaki came out of his thoughts and headed to his house, where Satsuki was most likely waiting for him. The guy was not mistaken. As soon as he crossed the threshold of his house, he immediately saw the black crown of his girlfriend. "Back already, Dobe?" Satsuki said with a sneer. "Yeah, topic," the guy said a little sadly. "What happened?" "Tell me," the girl boldly asked the question. "Nothing, except that I found out that my great-grandfather is Madara Uchiha," Naruto replied with a face that did not express emotions. "Uchiha? Wait, but you're Uzumaki." The heiress of the clan exclaimed uncomprehendingly. "As I was Uzumaki, so I remain," the blonde man calmly continued the conversation. "Listen to me. The old man gave me a scroll from my mother and told me about my father's last will before his death. I have to find my great-grandfather," Uzumaki said. "How to find it?" "He died a long time ago." Satsuki didn't believe what she said. "If he had died, I wouldn't have been told about my father's will," Naruto replied. "I'm going to look for him tomorrow at dawn." "How's tomorrow?" "Tomorrow is the first day of the academy and I won't let you go alone. I'm coming with you." The brunette spoke boldly. "I'm sorry, Satsuki, but you can't come with me," the blonde refused. "Why?" "And what if he turns out to be a psycho and kills you?" "I won't survive it," the girl shouted, and the first tear ran down her cheek. Naruto hugged the brunette and began stroking her straight and beautiful hair. He rested his nose on the top of her head and smelled the smell of spring flowers. How he liked such moments. "This will not happen. I believe that great-grandfather is a good person. I will definitely come back. Do you believe me? Topic. The guy asked, still hugging Satsuki. I believe you, Dobe, the brunette replied, already slowly calming down. They sat in this position for a long time, but then the guy felt that the brunette's breathing leveled out and she began to snore on his shoulder. He carefully shifted her from his shoulder to the sofa. The heiress of the Uchiha clan winced, which made Naruto smile, then he just lay down next to her. Satsuki snuggled closer to him in a dream, making it clear that she did not want to let him go, and buried her face in his chest. Will another important person appear in Naruto's life tomorrow, or will this not happen? Who knows? Naruto woke up with the first rays of the sun, because today he will get an answer to the question that torments him. His girlfriend was still lying next to him, enjoying the warmth of the blonde's body, snuggling even harder against him. The guy gently tore off the brunette and got up from the sofa. He didn't want to leave Satsuki on the first day of the academy, but he had to meet Madara. Mischievous rays of the sun played on the girl's face, thereby making her laughably wince. The guy decided that he needed to leave before his girlfriend woke up, but the blonde's plan failed at the same second. Are you leaving already? Having already woken up, Satsuki said with a note of sadness, yes, but I promised you that I would come back. Naruto encouraged the brunette. Good luck at the academy. After this dialogue, the blonde man left the house and decided, after all, to open his father's scroll. It was drawn, familiar to the guy, a place in the forest of Konoha. Naruto also noticed a letter attached to the map, deciding to read it first. Dear Naruto, if you're reading this, then Dad and I are dead. I understand that you have a lot of questions that you want to know the answers to. Your great-grandfather will answer most of them. Do what the third one told you. I have always wanted the village hidden in the whirlpool to be restored and begin to flourish anew. Please make my dream come true. With love, Mom and Dad. Naruto's tears began to flow treacherously. No one had ever addressed him so warmly, so tenderly. Say what you like, but he needed parental warmth very much. Now the guy from the village hidden in the foliage has a goal, to restore the village hidden in the whirlpool. The blonde man was already standing in front of a huge tree and still did not dare to enter it. How should he greet his great-grandfather? Taking courage in his fist, he went into the tree and saw an old, pale old man in front of him. Naruto? He asked incredulously, Great-grandfather? It's you? The guy asked in surprise. You, after all, have come. I will be brief, since I have very little left to live, Madara said with a smile on his face. You probably want to hear the answers to the questions that torment you. Yes, you don't have to talk about your parents, I know everything about them, the blonde informed. But then what do you want to know? The founder of the great clan asked, why was the Kubi sealed in me? You did not guess. I am tormented by only one question. Your father, Minato, believed that in the future you would be able to use the power of the nine-tailed to bring peace to the earth, the owner of the Sharingan replied. If that's all, then let me give you something. This is a scroll in which some items are sealed. You will open it when you get home, Madara said and gave the scroll to Naruto. And now, I'll give you a gift for admission to the academy. Drink this, said the old man and held out a flask with an incomprehensible liquid. What is it? The blonde man asked. Take a sleeping pill and lie down on that table, Madara finished. Taking a chance, Naruto drank all the contents of the test tube and he began to feel sleepy. He hoped with all his heart that nothing would happen to him. Meanwhile, at the Shinobi Academy, Konoha. Now there are a lot of people crowded in front of the academy building. Parents held their children's hands and gave parting advice. All the children were happy, because very soon they will become real shinobi. Only the girl with onyx eyes was not happy. She wanted to spend this unforgettable day with her friend. Her father, older sister and mother were able to come and support the girl. she was glad that the head of the clan was able to break away from work, and her sister from tasks. But still, the guy who brought a smile to her face was a part of her life. She felt uncomfortable without him. "Satsuki, where did you spend the night? Mikoto said that you never came home," the head of the clan asked his daughter. "I was at Naruto's, father," the brunette answered the question. "Naruto is a good guy and I trust him completely, but next time warn mom," asked Fugaku. "Good," the girl agreed with her father's request. The Hokage's performance ended and the children began to be assigned to classes. Satsuki and Naruto got into the same class, which undoubtedly pleased the girl. The first lesson was postponed to the next day, for a reason unknown to everyone. After the brunette returned home, she lay down on the bed and began to think about how this stubborn blonde was. She was worried and wanted him to come back as soon as possible. With these thoughts, the girl fell asleep. Tomorrow will be a new day that will bring a lot of new experiences. Naruto woke up from a sharp pain in both eyes. It seemed to him that thousands of needles were stuck in them. He hadn't felt anything like this in 6 years. Because he was a vessel for the nine-tailed, everyone was afraid of him and did not dare to beat him. After the pain subsided a little, the blonde felt for a blindfold over his eyes. What did his relative do to him? Did you really take his eyes and transplant them to yourself? Such questions were spinning in the guy's head. Uzumaki kept hoping that nothing bad had happened. "Naruto, are you awake?" Madara asked. "I woke up. What did you do with my eyes?" Naruto asked, almost shouting, "I gave you the promised gift. As you know, you have Uchi blood in you, and I have a couple of hours left to live. I hope you understand what I'm driving at." The founder of Konoha told, "Yes, you transplanted your eyes to me, but why? You're seeing me for the first time, what were you hoping for?" Barely restraining himself, the guy said, "Firstly, I don't see you for the first time. Secondly, as I said earlier, I don't have much left. I gave you the power of Sharingan so that you change this rotten world. Promise that you will do it," replied Uchiha. "When did you see me?" Naruto asked with interest. "After the battle with Kyubi, when your parents sacrificed themselves, I wanted to take you to myself, because I understood how difficult it would be for you alone. I asked Hiruzen to give you to me, but he refused," referring to the fact that Minato asked him to take care of his son, not me. Finished the narration gray-haired. "Did the old man communicate with you? Are you considered a nukenin of Konoha, or am I mistaken?" Uzumaki asked with interest. "Yes, I am considered a nukenin, but only Hiruzen, having learned that I am alive, decided to find a common language with me." Madara finished his story. "Does anyone else know you're alive?" "No, only your parents and Hiruzen knew," replied the strongest of the Uchiha. "By the way, you can remove the blindfold from your eyes. Thanks to the fox chakra, new organs have taken root in you." Naruto took off the blindfold and his eyes began to hurt badly again, for some unknown reason. After the pain subsided, he saw that his relative was sitting on a chair next to him, and he himself was lying on the bed. The room in which Uzumaki was located was very dark and it smelled unusually damp, and the walls were covered with mold. It was obvious that the room was in too deplorable condition. In the far corner of the room, the guy noticed a mirror. It was quite large and in good condition, which pleasantly surprised Naruto. "Grandfather, can I look in the mirror at least?" Blue-eyed asked the question. "Stupid question," the old man replied. The guy went to the mirror and what he saw in it made him blink. In his reflection, he did not see a blonde man with eyes as blue as the sky, but saw a guy with blue eyes, too, but with the color of a crow's wing, hair. Naruto did not believe what he saw at first, but still realizing that it was not a dream, he decided to ask Madara about it. "What's wrong with my hair?" The son of the fourth asked coldly, "The reaction of your body. You do understand that an operation on the eyes of a 6-year-old child will not be without bad consequences?" The former owner of the Sharingan answered the question. "You're right, I'm sorry for attacking you, but one more thing, if you transplanted your eyes to me, then why don't I see dojutsu in them? Uzumaki asked uncomprehendingly, there is Uchiha blood in you, therefore, Sharingan can be deactivated. To activate it, direct a small amount of chakra to the eyes. The founder of Konoha answered the question of his great-grandson. Naruto did not hesitate and began to do what Madara told him. He could not activate the Sharingan for a long time, as poor chakra control affected, but still after 10 unsuccessful attempts he was able to see the cherished dojutsu in his eyes. The guy saw that his eyes had changed color from blue to a bloody color, and they also had 3 tomos in them, which exactly a minute later began to move and merge into an incomprehensible pattern. Such actions caused a new wave of pain in his eyes and Naruto bent over from it. At the same moment, he felt that his head also began to hurt a lot. The brunette had never felt anything like this before. When the pain subsided, he realized that he knew techniques that he had never even heard of before. He didn't know where the seals for creating the big fireball, the great fire annihilation, and so on came from in his head. Grandfather, what does this mean? What is the pattern in my eyes? Why do I know so many different techniques? Naruto asked nervously. Calm down, the drawing in your eyes is most likely an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and you don't need to know how new techniques appeared in your head, Madara said calmly. The brunette did not notice how his bloody eyes had already changed to sky blue. He looked in the mirror again and looked at his hair and remembered Satsuki. He was very interested in what her first day at the academy was like. His grandfather's voice brought him out of his thoughts. Naruto, I already feel like life is leaving me. The operation at my age is very dangerous, but I took a risk for you, for the sake of peace on the planet. In the closet that is to my left, there are 2 suits, one of mine and one of yours. He was my younger brother. Take them, you can, of course, never wear them, but please keep them. Madara asked his great-grandson for a favor. Help me get on the bed. Naruto threw his great-grandfather's arm over his neck and gently laid him on the bed. Was the brunette feeling depressed now? Yes, that's right, because he recently got a relative, when suddenly he loses it again. Goodbye, Naruto, I hope you won't let this world rot even more. Goodbye, the founder of Konoha said his last words. Again he was left alone. The guy decided that he would stay here a little longer and return to Konoha. He promised his girlfriend not to stay long. He will keep his promise. The brunette decided to open the closet and look at the costumes left by his grandfather. At first glance, they looked pretty good, despite their age. Naruto decided to try on one of them. Madara's suit was clearly too big, and his brother's suit was the most suitable. The blue-eyed man took out a dusty thing and put it on himself. Now he strongly resembled the same Madara at the age of 6, the same black hair, the same heavy and wise look. For himself, the guy decided that he would wear this thing after he patched it up a little. The son of the 4th took Madara's clothes and decided to move out. A strong desire to see his girlfriend overcame him. Naruto came out of the shelter of his great-grandfather and the bright light blinded the guy. Apparently, his eyes got used to the darkness. Finally going outside, the brunette said, Grandfather, your sacrifice was not in vain, I will do everything in my power, Naruto said quietly. Meet the new Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto was already on the way to the village. The first thing he wanted to do was go to the Hokage and report on his journey. Of course, the brunette would not tell some things. Without a doubt, the guy already wanted to start mastering Sharingan, but for this he needs to return home. There are still 3 hours to go to the village and the guy decided to walk to it tomorrow, and now stop on a tree near the lake. The brunette chose the largest branch and immediately fell asleep. After all, the operation has greatly exhausted the young body. In the morning, the son of the 4th woke up from the sun rays that played on his tanned skin. Today he will see Satsuki and get a scolding from her because he did not come on time. But this did not upset him, but on the contrary caused a smile, because she was worried about him. From such thoughts, Naruto smiled and went to take water treatments. Approaching the lake, he saw in his reflection that his left eye was covered with bangs, and the hair itself had grown to the shoulder blades. How could the hair grow to such a size overnight? Although, what I'm surprised about, my great-grandfather was Madara Uchiha, the brunette concluded for himself. Now I'm the spitting image of my grandfather in his youth. Great! Having finished with the water procedures, Naruto continued on his way. The guy was able to weigh all the pros and cons and decided to tell about the gift from his grandfather to the head of the Uchiha clan. A loud rumble from the village brought the brunette out of his thoughts. When he reached the gate itself, the guy stopped and said, "I'm home," the son of the bloody habanero whispered with a certain joy in his voice. Naruto was about to go to the residence when he was stopped by one of the guards. "Wait, who are you and for what purpose did you come to Konohagakure?" Kotetsu asked the question with all severity. Exactly what was I counting on? The hair color has changed, the hairstyle has changed. I understand their distrust of me, exactly, the old man told me what to do in such a situation. Flashback. And the last thing, Naruto, if something happens to your appearance and Konoha's guards don't recognize you, then tell them this, Operation Black Flame, the Hokage informed the young blonde. Okay, the guy threw over his shoulder and immediately left the office. End flashback. Operation Black Flame, Madara's great-grandson said briefly. And Naruto? It's you? Kotetsu asked with obvious surprise. Yes, I'm sorry, but I don't have time. Sometimes, the brunette said goodbye to the guard. Now Minato's son was heading to the residence. It was early in the morning, the children were running to the academy, civilians were rushing to work, and shinobi were on a mission. People passing by Naruto were casting frightened glances at him, then interested glances. It is not always in Konoha that you will see a person who is so similar to the legend of the shinobi world. But the guy himself didn't care what views were thrown at him and how they treated him. The future student of the academy noticed that he began to approach his destination. Entering the building, and on entering, saying the name of the operation, hurried to the Hokage's office. The brunette knocked on the door and heard a loud, "Come in," behind her. Naruto opened the door and saw a third person in front of him. During the days of the boy's absence, nothing has changed. The old man, as always, puffs on his pipe and sorts out documents. "Greetings, I have not seen you in the village before. For what purpose did you come to Konoha?" Hokage began the dialogue, looking at the boy with obvious interest. "Old man, are you there too, Dadabi?" Naruto rolled his eyes. "Naruto? What happened to you?" "Of course, I assumed that something might happen to you, but not to this extent. Let me write everything in the report." "I'm very tired and would like to rest, but now I'll tell you one thing. Can you arrange a private conversation for us?" The newly made brunette intrigued the head of the village. "I can, mole, leave us for 5 minutes, Hiruzen asked the fighter for a favor. A young man, about 16 or 17 years old, came out of the left corner of the office and hurried to fulfill the request of the head of the village. "I'm listening to you carefully," said the third. "I will not delay, my grandfather transplanted his eyes to me," Naruto told his secret. From such a statement, the head of Konoha's pipe fell out of his mouth. "Did you transplant Madara? What for? What's wrong with him now?" He began to sprinkle questions on the former blonde Hokage. "Yes, I transplanted it. I can't say. He's dead, you know, at his age, the operation is fatal." Naruto answered Hiruzen's questions and something pricked him in the chest area. Did he really feel sorry for the person he had seen for no more than 3 hours? He has yet to figure that out. "Yeah, sorry, can you show Sharingan?" After these words, the brunette's eyes turned from light blue to blood red with 3 tomos. When the old man saw the eyes of Minato's son, he began to rub his own. Was the boy entrusted with such power? Not everyone will believe it. Now I'm convinced. Try not to show your new eyes, Hiruzen warned the boy. I myself understood this perfectly well. Tomorrow, most likely, I will go to Fugaku-sama and ask for a teacher. Uzumaki told his plan. Okay, just be careful. The head of Konoha did not have time to finish the sentence, as he was interrupted by a knock on the door. A 6-year-old girl with black hair and onyx eyes walked through it. Excuse me, Hokage-sama, has Naruto returned yet? Young Haim said with hope in her eyes. He's back, he's in front of you, Hiruzen said with a smile. Naruto? Naruto! The daughter of the head of the Uchiha clan shouted furiously. Sasuke, I'll explain everything. The brunette tried to justify himself. After talking with Hokage, Naruto and Satsuki were heading to his house. The look of the brunette, to put it mildly, is unimportant, a red cheek and a bad mood. The guy always knew that it was better not to mess with the Uchiha, but what to do, he chose this fate for himself. Young Haim occasionally threw sidelong glances at her friend, but immediately turned away, not forgetting to chuckle. The brunette couldn't stay mad at him for a long time. This idiot is so dear to her. Well, tell me, how did you manage to become a brunette and grow your hair in 3 days? Satsuki calmly asked the question. And before you hit, you couldn't ask? Uzumaki asked with resentment in his voice and rubbed the place of his wound. Well, don't be offended, Dobe, you know perfectly well that I'm worried about you. The heiress of the great clan relented. I know. Topic. The rest of the way to Naruto's house, they spent in silence, enjoying the bustle of the day. Satsuki decided to take a closer look at her friend's new image. His hair, black as night, which occasionally gave off a pleasant blue shade in the light of the sun, he replaced his orange suit with the traditional attire of the Uchiha clan. It would seem that nothing remained of the former Naruto, who gave her his snow-white smile. But how wrong she was when their eyes met sharply and he, once again, gave her a wide and beautiful smile. And now a small, but quite cozy apartment appeared in front of the children. Young Haim, together with her friend, went to his room and prepared to listen carefully to him. Okay, Satsuki, it all started from the moment I came to my great-grandfather. Naruto began his narration. The guy told her absolutely everything, in every detail, without hiding anything, since he simply had nothing to hide from her. Yes, it means that at the moment you have the strongest Sharingan of all Uchi, concluded the brunette. Probably, Uzumaki agreed with his girlfriend. Okay, tomorrow I have to go to the academy. I think I'll go while Naruto, can I walk you out? Madara's heir offered to help. It's not worth it, it's better to rest yourself before the first day of school, and tomorrow you'll come for me, Satsuki said and hurried away from her best friend's apartment. After the girl left, Naruto immediately fell on his bed and fell into the realm of Morpheus. Too much, he missed the soft bed. The guy hoped that tomorrow he would have a new, eventful day. Uchiha clan quarter. Meanwhile, Satsuki has already managed to get to her block. The girl was undoubtedly glad that her best friend returned alive and unharmed. The house that appeared in front of her brought her out of such joyful thoughts. When the brunette entered her abode, she noticed her parents in the kitchen. Her father, as always with a serious face, was reading the newspaper, and her mother was hosting at the stove. Oh, Satsuki, are you back yet? Mikoto asked the obvious question and sat down next to her daughter. Yes, Mom, Naruto returned today and we talked a little with him, the young Haim replied with a smile. From such a statement, Fugaku looked up from the newspaper and got involved in a family conversation. Naruto? How is he? Did everything go well? The head of the clan began to question his daughter with obvious interest. Yes, everything is fine with him. Tomorrow he will come for me and you can talk. Great, Satsuki's father said with a smile. The girl wanted to continue the conversation with her mother, but they were rudely interrupted. "What kind of people, sister, have you already returned? I thought you'd stay with your Naruto," the newcomer quipped. "You don't have to worry about that, Daichi," the brunette replied with annoyance. Satsuki turned around to look at the person who annoys her a lot. Daichi was a brunette with onyx eyes and pale aristocratic skin. Average build and height for his age. He was Satsuki's twin brother. If his sister had a soft enough character, then he had a very difficult one. Eternal squabbles with the girl began in early childhood. Parents have come to terms with such a relationship between twins. "Mom, I'm going to bed, I'm very tired," the brunette said and left so as not to hear another taunt from her brother. Going into her room, Satsuki lay down on the bed and thought about how tomorrow would go. After all, Naruto will be at the academy tomorrow. And with a happy smile, the girl fell asleep. The new day for Naruto started quite well. He has already managed to wash up and is currently having breakfast. The guy does all this quickly, since he still has to go for Satsuki. Having finished with the meal, the brunette put on his clothes and left the apartment. While Uzumaki was getting to the Uchiha clan quarter, he managed to notice that almost no one was paying attention to him anymore, which undoubtedly pleased him. Minato's son is already standing in front of Satsuki's house and knocking on the door. 2 minutes later, the door was opened by a woman in her mid-30s, with black hair down to the middle of her back. In this woman, the guy recognized Mikoto Uchiha, Satsuki's mother, Naruto-kun. "Is it really you?" the wife of the clan head asked in surprise. "Yes, Mikoto-san, it's me," the brunette replied and bowed. "And you've changed a lot. Satsuki is still sleeping, go to the Fugaku, he's waiting for you," said Uchiha. "Thank you, I just need to see him." Kushina's son thanked the woman and hurried to the office of the head of the clan. When he got to that very place, the brunette knocked and, having received permission for her to enter, went in. The blue-eyed man saw Fugaku in front of him. He looked tired and did not get enough sleep. Most likely, he was busy with papers all night. "Naruto? Come on in, I've been waiting for you. I'd like to hear how your mission went," Satsuki's father asked. The brunette told everything that was possible, from eye transplantation, to unknown techniques that appeared in his head. To this, the head of the clan only smiled wearily and said, "I will personally start your Sharingan training, as well as your unknown techniques. I am very grateful to you, Fugaku-san." Naruto thanked his future sensei. "Can I go?" "Yes, of course, Satsuki is probably waiting for you," Uchiha said with a sly smile. After this conversation, Naruto left the office and on the way met his girlfriend, who was really waiting for him. Saying goodbye to Mikoto, the children left the mansion and headed to the academy. When the friends got to the educational institution, they were met with interested glances. On the female side, they were sometimes in love, then soaked with interest, and on the male side, the views were imbued with the spirit of rivalry and envy. This was due to the fact that Satsuki had already established herself as a cold and unapproachable Uchiha. And then an unknown boy walks in with her, almost by the hand. Entering the classroom, the couple sat down at the very last desk and began to prepare for the lesson. 10 minutes later, a swarthy chunin, of medium height and with his hair tied in a ponytail at the back of his head, came into the audience. "Hello children, today there is a new student in our class, please introduce yourself," the teacher asked Naruto. "My name is Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto. My name is Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto." Minato's son introduced himself and many surprised eyes immediately stared at him. "Nice to meet you, Naruto. My name is Irika Yumano, for you Irika is sensei." A swarthy man of about 30 introduced himself. After meeting Madara's great-grandson, the teacher began to teach a lesson. To be honest, the brunette was frankly bored. The information that the teacher is now telling the guy knew very well. No wonder he took books from Konoha's library. In order to occupy himself somehow, Naruto decided to examine his classmates. The first person noticed by the bearer of the great dojutsu was a girl with pink hair, somewhat resembling sakura petals. Next to her sat a boy already familiar to the blue-eyed boy, Daichi Uchiha. With this type, Naruto, from the very beginning, had two strained relations. Guys didn't like each other. The third at the desk was a blonde of good build. Naruto decided to stop at these three characters. If they wanted to, they would get acquainted themselves. The brunette himself went deep into listening to Sensei's lecture. The rest of the lessons were surprisingly calm. During recess, students approached the newcomer to get to know him better. Naruto ignored all questions about the clan. He did not like this topic. Now the Kyuubi carrier and Sasuke were leaving the academy when a girl's voice called out to them, "Naruto-kun, Sasuke." "Sakura, did you want something?" asked her friend Haim of the Uchiha clan. "Yes, I wanted to ask Naruto-kun a question," the pink-haired one answered with a spark in her eyes. "Which one?" Hiding his interest, the brunette asked, "I know that you don't like questions about the clan, but still I will ask, do you have any connection with Madara Uchiha?" The future kunoichi spoke in one breath. "I have a kindred one," Kushina's son replied. "But how do you know about him?" "It seems like they don't say anything about him at the academy. I just like to spend time in the library and recently came across him, although there is little information about him," Sakura said with annoyance. "But thanks for answering. If you need to get your bangs in order, then come to me, I'll help." Satsuki knows the address. "Thanks, I'll think about it," he thanked Haruno, slightly lifting the corners of his lips. After the dialogue, the pink-haired woman left. The proposal that Sakura Naruto made Satsuki a little angry. "Okay, so we've spent a lot of time, let's go spend it," the brunette said irritably and went ahead. Naruto had no choice but to follow the girl, smiling along the way. Meanwhile, the Route ANBU base. "Danzo-sama, everything went as you expected," the weapon returned to the village with new eyes, the fighter in the buffalo mask clearly reported on the mission. "Fine, I'm free," an elderly man with bandages all over his body replied. ANBU disappeared into Shunshin and left the old man, as it seemed at first glance, completely alone. Suddenly, a 17-year-old guy with black hair and bloody eyes came out of the shadows. "The first part of the plan is done, Danzo. Don't let me down at the next stage. What is hidden in this guy can give you power over the village, if you, of course, cooperate with me," the unknown man said and disappeared. "Of course, Izuna-san," Hamura said into the void. Mount Mayaboku, Hall of the Great Toad Sage. A white-haired man was quietly pacing towards the Toad Sage. There were legends that the only one of the draft animals is able to see the future. Earlier, he predicted only terrible events, wars, the deaths of great people, and this morning he saw the future again. A small, green frog brought Jiraiya out of her thoughts. "Jiraiya-kun, the sage is waiting for you," the frog informed his disciple. "Thank you, Fukasaku-san," Sanin thanked his teacher. The toad hermit found himself in the middle of a large and spacious hall. Opposite Naruto's godfather, there was a large throne on which the great of the toad Saturday. "Jiraiya, I am glad that you came. I had a message this morning. As you know, it is connected with the future fate of this world. Do not torment, great sage, tell us what it is about," Jiraiya urged the Toad Oracle. "I saw a boy with black hair who would master ideally all 5 elements and stop all wars. There is, indeed, a great power hidden in him, incomparable with others. Also, a red-haired girl, very dear to him, was standing next to him. You must find and take care of these children, Jiraiya." The toad finished his narration. "Really, it's them." Naruto's morning started surprisingly well. The birds outside the window, as always, sang only for them in an understandable way. Shinobi rushed to assignments, and children to the academy. Such an ordinary, but very pleasant feeling. Calm, that's what you can call it. Enough time has passed since the end of the Third World War. Shinobi, it would seem that people finally realized that apart from death and destruction, these skirmishes carry nothing. Everyone wants to put an end to the bloodshed, to create an ideal world, but is it possible? Most likely, it is possible, but no one knows how. What should be done to achieve this cherished goal? Have unlimited power? Power? Respect? One can only guess about this. Even the young heir of the once great Uzumaki clan wondered what love was. He believed that it was just a feeling between people, like between him and Sasuke, no romance, etc., only friendship, just stronger. But is it true? Again, probably not. The real love was between Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, the former, despite the prospect of being killed by the most terrible demon of this mortal world, Kubi no Yoko, protected his newborn son, and also almost saved his wife. She herself put herself under the monster's claw, hoping that her beloved would not be hurt. Madara told this terrible story to his great-grandson. He blamed himself that he did not have time to save his beloved granddaughter, Kushina, and her husband. Although she did not bear the surname of the cursed clan, the Uchiha genes were expressed. Yes, they were not expressed in anything except Sharingan. He loved her more than his life. Looks funny, right? Hatred and malice in the pure mass, that's the nickname of the second founder Konohagakure no Sato, coddling a little red-haired girl. It's hard to imagine. There are thousands more topics that a young brunette needs to think about, but today there is not so much time for this. He needs to hurry to the territory of his girlfriend's clan. Time later, Uchiha territory. At the largest training ground of the Uchiha clan stood the most respected persons of this clan, Satsuki, Fugaku, Itachi Uchiha. These people will help Naruto in mastering his new abilities. Undoubtedly, every shinobi who has heard about these three characters would like to train with them and learn something. A young but very talented Haim, the head of the clan, and, of course, a girl who at the age of 11 became the captain of a special squad, ANBU. Here the purpose of their meeting appears in their field of vision. A little disheveled hair and torn clothes in some places, said that the guy was in a hurry. Hello, Fugaku-sama, Itachi, Satsuki, sorry, I'm a little late, the guy said, as if he had memorized the words earlier. Greetings, Naruto-kun, it's okay, to be honest, we're a little late too, Itachi replied, awkwardly scratching the back of her head. Fugaku, with a slight smile, nodded to his student, and Satsuki, as always, smiled warmly, thereby greeting her friend. Great, then we can start training. Naruto, today we will try to figure out the techniques in your head. Slowly begin to fold the first seals that come to mind. The Son of Lightning Konoha folded, very familiar to Itachi and Fugaku, seals. Without controlling the subsequent actions, the guy exhaled a stream of searing flame, which turned into a fireball after a moment. The size of the technique amazed the young genius of the Uchiha clan, at that age, and from the first time, to repeat the technique of high complexity. The kid is not even 7 years old. Absurd. But it is. After the brunette finished the technique, he coughed and started holding his throat. Satsuki reacted instantly and gave him a drink of water. Fortunately, it helped. Amazing, Naruto. You repeated the fireball, and in such sizes. It's amazing. Itachi began to admire the small victory of Minato's offspring. I agree with my daughter, it's very interesting. Let's see what other techniques are hidden in you. With a barely noticeable smile, but severity in his voice, the head of the clan spoke. Naruto's training continued until sunset, but the guy was satisfied with this outcome. He was able to identify all the fire techniques that were in his head. Isn't this the first, but a small victory? Undoubtedly. Now Madara's great-grandson was lying on the grass and enjoying the sunset. His muscles ached, definitely, such a sharp workout effects. Suddenly, he felt another person lying down with him. Satsuki. She was against such an abrupt first workout. But when did the guy listen to her? Are you offended? The guy asked, and in response he heard the Yukikov PF. Come on, I'm not hurt, the others are too, isn't that happiness? You have no idea how good you are. Do you like to play on my nerves? But you're right, everyone is alive and well, this is happiness. Having said that, she moved closer to the brunette to warm up. Naruto, of course, did not mind and even hugged her so that such closeness would be more useful. If you look at these two lying children, it won't even occur to you that one of them is Madara's great-grandson. Naruto has something that the founder didn't have, love. The great-grandfather of the brunette believed that she would make him soft-hearted and vulnerable. This was his main mistake. They look so much like you, Kushina, Minato. So a new autumn day has begun in Konoha. Today is an important day for our brunette, the first training session using Sharingan. Once, Fugaku Uchiha told the guy that in the common people these eyes were called cursed. They got this name because of the power they give to their owner and, of course, what he has to sacrifice. Vision is the main payment for the continued use of Mangek Sharingan. The first one who could deceive fate and not go blind was Naruto's great-grandfather, Madara Uchiha. There were rumors that there was a dojutsu stronger than Sharingan and Byakugan, Rinnegan. Unfortunately, this is just a legend. Satsuki's father told Minato's son that the training would be very difficult and chakra costly. Meanwhile, Naruto was already leaving the house and heading to the Uchiha clan quarter. When he got to the right training ground, the guy saw his mentor, who involuntarily became his father's replacement for him. It would seem that this beautiful day will not be able to spoil anything. But how the brunette was wrong. Hello, Fugaku-sensei, Daichi, the guy uttered the last word with disgust. No matter how well Madara's grandson treated Satsuki, he didn't like this person right away. Hello, Naruto-kun, today, as I said, we will start training your Sharingan. Since Daichi has also awakened him, he will be your sparring partner. PF, where does he care about me? He probably only awakened one Tomo, Satsuki's twin brother said with a sneer. Actually, I'm surprised that you were able to wake him up at all, Naruto replied with a victorious grin. Oh, you pathetic half-breed, have you got the courage, since the head of the clan is teaching you? Well, never mind, in sparring I'll knock all the impudence out of your arrogant mug. That's enough. Did you come to the training or to the bazaar? Activate the Sharingan and start. Today's training will end an hour later than planned, finished the dispute between the two rivals Fugaku. The children immediately began to obey the order. The battle will be interesting. Same time, unknown location in a dark room sat a man with a white spiral mask on his face. An unknown dojutsu was rippling in his right eye. This man, ignoring everything that is happening around him, was in thought. Until another person appeared in the room. Report, Danzo. Ignoring the newcomer, the masked man continued to look out the window, twirling the kunai in his hand. Jinchuriki started Sharingan training. My subordinates also checked its compatibility with the Rhine Sharingan. Compatibility is 98% out of 100, the old man said in a hoarse voice. Fine, I'm free. The territory of the Uchiha clan. Polygon number 1. One of the largest training grounds in all of Konoha has fallen into disrepair. Large craters, burnt grass, all this indicates that there was a serious battle here recently. A child was lying on the ground, covered in abrasions, small burns. His clothes were torn, and he was breathing heavily. Dirt and blood clogged my hair. Anyone would have thought that this was an attack, but no, this is the very first training of the son of the head of the Uchiha clan and the son of the Yellow Lightning Konoha. Daichi, you upset me, and you, Naruto, are well done, Fugaku praised his student, patting him on the head. Such a fleeting, but very pleasant gesture. Thank you, Sensei, Dadabayo, the guy thanked his mentor and smiled. I think that's enough for today, I'll see you at the next training sessions. Still, what is power? Many believe that it is synonymous with the word power. But is this really the case? Most likely, yes. Whoever has the power rules the world. A stupid, but unfortunately true statement. They say that people who thirst for power feed this thirst with hatred. And it, in fact, generates a person in himself. Naruto's great-grandfather used to say, a person who knows love risks knowing hate. Almost reaching home, Naruto saw Satsuki, as always, cheerful and beautiful. Who would he be if she hadn't appeared in his life? Probably nobody. 5 years later, Kato, great fiery destruction. After these words, a huge cloud of flame appeared in the air, which made it difficult to breathe. This is not surprising. One of the most destructive techniques of Madara Uchiha, the second most powerful, after Hashirama Senju. Having finished the technique, the exhausted brunette fell on the grass. A light spring breeze ruffled his hair, making the guy smile blissfully. Tomorrow this guy is graduating from the Shinobi Academy. After her, graduates begin a difficult, sometimes dangerous, ninja life. Of course, not everyone will be able to achieve fame, strength, as the young generation is fiercely promised. Absolutely green genins are sent on missions that are clearly not up to them. There's nothing you can do about it. That's the way this world is, cruel and unfair. Naruto could continue to think about different things, if not a pebble that flew straight into the guy's head, Satsuki. Damn you, how many times have I asked you not to wake me up like that? The young man flared up, rubbing his wound. I didn't guess, Naru. Really, stupid little sister managed to get you so much with this? Giggling, said a gentle, feminine voice. Ah, Itachi? Have a seat, the guy invited the girl, patting the place on the grass next to him. Thanks. How long have you been sitting here? I lay down about 5 minutes ago, trained the technique, rubbing his burned cheeks, the brunette babbled. Most likely, you came to find out how I reacted to yesterday's news? You are, as always, very smart, Naruto. I'll answer that question for you. You know perfectly well that I feel more than friendship for Satsuki. If, after all, the contract takes place, then I will lose the chance for a happy future with her. She's the first person who hasn't turned her back on me. But know this, Itachi, if we have to fulfill the deal, then I will never offend you and will not give offense. Thank you, I don't need more, Fugaku's eldest daughter said in a barely audible voice, resting her head on his shoulder. And it all started with a harmless visit to the head of the clan. Flashback: the grandson of the strongest shinobi of his time, Madara, has just left the territory of the Uchiha clan, with a depressed face. He is the bearer of the strongest Mangekyo Sharingan, must obey the old elders, who are 100 years old at lunch? Absurd. No, well, it's necessary to think of marrying Fugaku's eldest daughter and Minato Namake's son. What is the benefit to them from this marriage? A child with strong genes? You can still guess about this. But, the most important thing that worried Naruto was how Satsuki would react to this. The girl who didn't let him hate everyone around him. From the very thought that the girl would also, indiscriminately, be given for some brat, made the guy look askew. It shouldn't be like this. Meanwhile, the brunette went to his and immediately lay down on the bed. Tomorrow he will train to exhaustion. End flashback. After finishing remembering the previous day, Naruto decided to continue training. If you're lucky, Itachi can help with creating his own technique. As luck would have it, the guy found that the brunette was comfortably perched on his shoulder and dozed off. Gently removing the girl's head from his shoulder, Madara's great-grandson lowered her to the grass. In order not to interrupt the sweet sleep of his girlfriend and, concurrently, his future wife, the guy moved away. If it wasn't for the third old man, there would be 2 elders less in Konoha. The death of authorized persons under the Hokage would be a suspicious event. That's why they're still alive. Activating the Sharingan, the guy began to concentrate the elemental chakra in his hand. The first pancake is lumpy. The second attempt was also unsuccessful. For the third time, the brunette decided to try to pour more chakra. And so, purple flashes began to appear in the hand. After 15 minutes of torment, Naruto felt that someone hugged him from behind. After such an action, the flashes in the teenager's hand began to turn into full-fledged lightning. Well, everything worked out. I knew you were capable, Itachi said, kissing the joyful guy on the cheek. What do you call the technique? Purple lightning, Raiden, purple lightning. The brunette replied, looking at the fruit of his efforts with fascination. Original, Itachi commented, snuggling closer to the guy. It would seem that such a fun event could not spoil anything, if not for the rustling in the neighboring bushes and quiet sobs. Sasuke, the teenagers said in unison. Will you follow her? You know the answer yourself, said the brunette and rushed after his best friend. What he was most afraid of happened. The girl probably won't even listen to him. This damn engagement, then the wedding destroyed the relationship built between them over the years. Of course, Minato's son did not blame Itachi for this. Yes, she is beautiful, elegant, she became ANBU at 11, an ideal girl, wife, future mother. Everything is very complicated. Naruto did not notice how he got to the Uchiha couple's house. Uncertainty took over the guy completely. Having overcome this feeling, the guy knocked on the door. A minute later, Sasuke opened the door, crying, with red eyes. They probably stood there for a minute, not daring to start a dialogue. What are you doing here? Go away. I didn't expect betrayal from you. The youngest daughter of the head of the Uchiha clan faintly chased her former friend away. Sasuke. You misunderstood everything. It's the elders, they are to blame for what you saw. Are the elders to blame for elder sister kissing you? Are you sick? The brunette shouted, swinging at the guy. The arm was intercepted, many hours of training effect. A moment and the girl was pressed against the wall. Naruto looked into his best friend's eyes and saw the pain there. And what else did he expect to see there besides her? The person most dear to the girl betrayed, deceived. I started an affair not with anyone, but with my older sister, in whom the younger brunette doted. Wriggling out of the grip, the girl pushed the guy away from her and hurried into the house. Daichi was watching the whole scene. 10 minutes ago, he would not have refused a caustic comment in the direction of his sister's boyfriend, but an unknown force forced him to refrain. This unknown force was the external state of Uzumaki Uchiha, shabby clothes, bags under the eyes and activated Sharingan. The once beautiful and intimidating attire worn by Madara himself has become like a rag. The coats of arms of the Uchiha and Uzumaki clans, united together, have almost been erased. My esteemed sister is not in a good mood right now. I would advise you to move away from our house. You know yourself that now she will not accept you with open arms. Daichi, get out of here while you're alive, Naruto said, turning his eyes in the direction of the enemy. Although Satsuki's brother was pompous and smug, he shuddered at the eternal Mangekyo's gaze. He read what these eyes are capable of. He did not want to test fate, for joy. Okay, okay. Just don't pluck it out here. Itachi's younger brother said in a joking tone, raising his hands in a conciliatory gesture. The fact that Daichi did not continue the conflict undoubtedly pleased Naruto. Deciding that he had nothing else to do here, Minato's son decided to go home. The night Konoha was truly beautiful, lots of bright and blinding lights, music. In all this turmoil, shinobi could be seen running on night missions. Tomorrow there will be a new generation of ninjas, fearless killers, defenders of the village. Approaching his house, the guy was surprised that the light was on there. Opening the door, the brunette felt the sharp smell of vegetables and noodles. Taking off his shoes and going into the kitchen, Itachi appeared in front of the guy. The girl did not hear the door and continued to cook something, simultaneously humming a strange melody under her nose. Itachi? What are you doing here? Naruto said. Fugaku's eldest daughter turned around and smiled guiltily, wiping her hands on her apron. Naruto? I just decided to cook you dinner because I feel guilty that your relationship with Sasuke has been shaken because of me. I'm sorry again, I'll probably go. The brunette wanted to leave the Uzumaki, Uchiha house, but a strong hand stopped her. Stay with me today, please. He uttered this phrase in the voice of a man who has just returned from the war. Emotionless. Empty. This voice completely reflected Naruto's inner state. Without saying anything in response, Itachi put the guy on a chair and put food in front of him. After eating, Madara's great-grandson took a shower and was able to persuade his future wife to lie down next to him on the same bed. Ignoring the fact that teenagers will do this after a while every day, confused the older Uchiha. 10-15 minutes later, already being sure that the guy was fast asleep, the girl decided to lie down on the sofa, as she was sharply pressed against a young, but already fully formed body. Satsuki's older sister could only catch one thing out of all the unintelligible whispers: I love you, Itachi. The new day started, surprisingly, better than the previous ones. One smell of fresh rice with meat made Naruto smile involuntarily. After breakfast, the brunette decided to take a shower. About to leave, Minato's son was stopped by his fiancée. Leaving a weightless kiss on the cheek, she said, "Me too," and left. What this phrase means is anyone's guess. The way to the academy did not take much time. The guy managed to get right to the beginning of the ceremony. Just then, the Hokage began his speech about the will of fire, which a good part of the graduates ignored. As soon as Hiruzen finished his broadcast, the sensei invited the children to the auditorium to take the last exam. For some, this exam did not create problems, and for others it was a kind of test of their abilities. The essence of the exam was in the tickets on which the techniques were applied. Performed the technique, passed. Next, Uzumaki Naruto Uchiha. Iruka announced the guy. Getting up from his seat, the brunette approached the table and pulled out a ticket. On it was written in neat handwriting, the technique of illusory clones. According to Naruto, this is the most useless technique that can only be invented and is suitable only for clansless because of the amount of chakra. Ignoring what was written, Minato's son folded a cross-shaped seal and 24 shadow clones appeared around him. Not surprised, Iruka gave a credit to the young talent. While the other students were taking the exam, half an hour passed. During this time, Naruto managed to catch Satsuki's sad or indifferent gaze several times. The guy's soul shrank from such signs of attention. How he wanted to spit on everyone and apologize to her. But not now, not the time. In the second auditorium, where the children who passed the exam were sitting, Iruka entered and began to announce the teams and their mentors. This year, Hokage-sama decided to create a special team for a future internship at ANBU. It will include Satsuki Uchiha, Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Choji, Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto. Your mentor is Kakashi Hatake. Moving away from the shock, the named teenagers decided to scroll through what Irika had said in their heads. Why did the Hokage need such a young generation of ANBU? And what is the task of such a composition? Teenagers will certainly find answers to these questions. Looking at Satsuki, Naruto noticed surprise and happiness on her face. Yes, it was that emotion. Having finished announcing the lists of teams, Yumino left the audience. After a while, only the team of future ANBU remained in the class, waiting for their very unpunctual mentor. As soon as Madara's grandson wanted to cover Kakashi with 3-story insults, he deigned to appear. Yo! Sorry for being late. Jonin said, scratching his head awkwardly. You, as I understand it, are a new squad of trainees. I'm waiting for you on the roof. After these words, Hatake disappeared in a whirlwind of leaves, leaving his students in slight perplexity. The young genins went up to the designated place and settled down on the steps. After the son of White Fang was convinced of the readiness of the group, he began to get acquainted. Let's get acquainted. I've seen some of you, but I don't really know anything. State your name, dream, goal, if any. My name is Kakashi Hatake, Jonin, and you don't need to know the rest yet. Now you are, Sensei finished and pointed at Ino Yamanaka. The future ANBU were clearly dissatisfied with the small amount of information, but they tried not to show it. My name is Yamanaka Ino, I love flowers, my dream is to become a good kunoichi. Shikamaru Nara, my favorite activity is watching clouds, I hate wars. Akimichi Choji, I like to eat well and deliciously, there is no dream. Satsuki Uchiha, I love tomatoes and one stupid but strong jerk, the goal is to surpass my sister. After the girl's words, Naruto's heart froze. Was she really talking about him? In fact, this is unlikely, fresh wounds have not yet had time to heal after the quarrel. Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto, I like to learn something new and unknown, the goal is to put an end to wars. Minato's son completed the acquaintance. Kakashi once again looked through his pupils and stopped at Naruto. He was very interested in this guy. Well, since the test, in this situation, has no weight, I'm waiting for you tomorrow at the training ground number 7 for the first training in getting equipment, finished Hatake and jumped off the roof. Okay, see you all tomorrow, I have things to do too, said Naruto and slowly wandered towards the exit. Almost leaving the academy building, a familiar voice called out to the brunette. Stop, Uzumaki. Unknown location, 5 minutes after the main events. Report, Danzo, the guy in the mask said in a stern voice, twirling his favorite kunai. The subject graduated from the academy perfectly and joined the team under the leadership of Kakashi Hatake. The latest analyses say that the guy is already able to awaken Rinna Sharingan. Great, make sure that in his team, during the mission, a person dear to him suffered. Get started. Yes, the elder replied and hurried out of the room. Konoha Center, wait, Naruto. A familiar voice called out to the guy. The brunette turned to the source of the noise and saw Itachi. She was as beautiful as ever. Jet black hair, onyx eyes and small scars near the bridge of the nose. The girl, surprisingly, was wearing standard shinobi clothes, except for the ANBU uniform. In her hands, the heiress of the great clan carried a small package. Itachi? What are you doing here? Uzumaki Uchiha asked the question of interest. Didn't you say you'd stay at home? You're right, I wanted to do this, but I was summoned by the council of the Uchiha clan. At the same time, I went to the store and bought the ingredients for your favorite ramen, the brunette replied, pointing with her free hand at the package. "You shouldn't have bothered, I still have food at home." "I'm not small, Dadabayo," Minato's son exclaimed and smiled. The guy, of course, liked that he was treated so tenderly, but for years the feeling he had not received gave rise to a little shyness. "I saw your food, you won't eat custard ramen with a living bride," the brunette said and flicked the groom on the nose. Naruto winced a little at such a gesture, which made Itachi smile. "Well, Itachi, you know I hate it when you do that," Madara's grandson exclaimed with displeasure, watching the brunette begin to leave. "Don't grumble, Naru. So be it, my signature cookies will be for dessert," Kunoichi said with a sly smile, waiting for the guy's reaction. As it turned out, it was instantaneous. "Cookies? I'm running." To the house, the newly minted genin and the eldest heiress of the Uchiha clan got running, on a bet. The bet was lost by Kushina's son and now he will have to take off his clothes, given by his grandfather. It was a real blow for the guy, as he was so attached to this element of his style that he almost did not take it off. This could be guessed from the erased places on the mantle. If you look at the guy, he is an exact copy of his grandfather, the same robe with a high blue collar and long sleeves, brown obi, and a belt. Undoubtedly, this outfit gave the guy age and prestige, but the current state of the thing could have been better. "Take it off, Naruto. I'm just going to kill her, nothing terrible will happen," Itachi said calmly, squeezing the guy in the corner. "No. She's all right." The brunette tried to escape from the bride. If there was another girl here instead of Captain Anbu, then Minato's son would have succeeded. After 5 minutes of resistance, the guy was left without clothes. While Itachi was sewing clothes, Naruto decided to ask a question of interest to him. "Itachi, why do you have hair in your chakra?" "No matter how I activate the Sharingan, they always glow, even now," the brunette asked, drilling his bride with all-seeing eyes. I noticed it all the same." "Okay, I'll tell you, only this is strictly between us," the girl answered in half a voice, folding an incomprehensible seal. The girl's hair began to change its color sharply. A moment later, the same Itachi is sitting in front of Naruto, only with beautiful dark red hair. The girl looked at the groom with the same warm and affectionate smile. Dadabayo. Now, in front of the main entrance to Konoha, there was a tall man with gray hair. His gaze was joyful and a little heavy. Funny moments from childhood began to emerge in one beautiful picture. When he finished thinking, he walked through the security post and headed for the Hokage residence. For himself, the old man noticed that the village had not changed much after his last visit. Life was boiling. Everyone was busy with their own affairs. Children hurried to the academy, sellers called new buyers, shinobi hurried on missions. A world without wars is beautiful. What a pity that not everyone understands this. There will always be a person who wants only strength, he will not care about love and peace. Stopping, the man uttered such simple, but spoken with warmth words. "Hello again, Konohagakure." The new day greeted Konoha with its dazzling rays. The morning commotion was only gaining momentum. It would seem to be a resurrection, but the shinobi continue to rush to the tasks. Today is the first training session of the newly minted ANBU team. Naruto wondered what prompted the third to create this team. And Satsuki was also assigned. With such thoughts, the brunette decided to gather at the training ground, where, most likely, his team is waiting for him. Opening his eyes, the guy noticed Itachi lying next to him, who did not even intend to wake up. Her beautiful barbed curls fell on her face, causing the owner's displeased pug. Remembering how she tried to explain the origin of her hair, Naruto involuntarily smiled. Flashback, Databeo, Itachi, what's with your hair? The guy almost shouted, carefully examining the girl. Naru, calm down, I'll explain everything to you now, if you don't interrupt and keep quiet. Although, you will be silent, things are not compatible, the Uchiha heiress snorted into her fist, but still continued. Well, I myself found out about the origin of my hair 3 years ago, when the chakra-sucking dye subsided. It was a complete shock for me and, of course, I ran to my mother with questions. It turns out that my mom is a girl from the Uzumaki clan, which she confirmed with her hair. She also uses paint so as not to let her husband down. I asked about Satsuki and got only the answer that she was lucky to have most of the Uchiha gene. Yeah. You know, I like red hair too. End flashback. Having finished with the water procedures, the guy began to collect his equipment, black gloves, kunai, shurikens. Naruto was already 20 minutes late for the meeting. Quickly running out of his house, he headed to the 24th training ground. Meanwhile, almost the entire team was assembled, except for Minato's son and Kakashi. The lateness caused by these personalities was starting to piss Satsuki off. Kami, damn this Naruto. Okay, sensei, he got the reputation of being always late. Let him just show up, I'll straighten his brains. The eternally calm Uchiha flared up, violently waving her fists. Most likely, fate decided to make fun of Madara's grandson, as his silhouette began to appear in the distance. The guy had not yet had time to come up with an excuse, as a medium-sized stone flew into him. Ow! Satsuki, aren't you tired of throwing stones? The brunette shouted, to which the girl chuckled in Uchikovsky. Yo! Sorry for being late, the black cat crossed the road, Kakashi said out of nowhere. Okay, before you start lecturing me, I'll start. You have to pick up the masks hanging on my belt. Whichever mask you take away, that will become yours. Let's get started. After the speech, Kakashi disappeared into the leaves of Shunshin, leaving his wards perplexed. The young ANBU scattered to secluded places in order to come up with a plan of action. Naruto hid in a tree and waited for the appearance of Kakashi, as the guy flew a nasty blow to the shoulder. Suppressing a sudden pain, the brunette decided to look at the immortal, and it turned out to be Satsuki. No matter how hard it is to admit it, but we need you to take away the masks from Hataki. I hope you guessed that this is a test of teamwork. Our plan is very simple. Since you have the strongest fire and Sharingan, then you will occupy it with a fight and lead Shikamaru into a shadow trap. Choji with the help of clan equipment will ensure, in case Kakashi escapes. Ino will take control of his mind and give him the masks. Brilliant. The brunette told the plan of action and smiled blissfully. Wait, what are you going to do? Naruto asked, grabbing the brunette by the shoulder. To ensure you, Dobe. So that, as always, you don't cause problems. By the way, you start after you see a shuriken flying into the sky, the girl replied and left. Exactly 2 minutes later, the brunette noticed the iron flying into the sky and began to act. Jumping down from the tree, Naruto noticed that Kakashi was sitting under him all this time, reading his book. Finally, I thought you weren't going to carry out your plan, the copying ninja was saying, putting the book in his pouch. Shall we start? After these words, Kakashi with a slight movement of his hand hit Minato's son in the stomach, thereby throwing the opponent back a good 2 meters. Overcoming the sharp pain, Naruto stood up and began to fold the seals. A moment later, a huge fireball is flying in Hataki. The brunette had already decided that the attack was successful, when he suddenly saw 2 flying water dragons. 2 destructive techniques collided, forming huge clouds of steam. For the ordinary eye, these conditions have become unfavorable. Just not Sharingan, activating the cursed eyes, Naruto was able to dodge a strong lightning bolt at the last second. And you are not bad, but there is something to strive for. Kakashi tried to hurt the brunette. In order to save chakra, the son of White Fang decided to switch to taijutsu. The opponents began to exchange blows, where Naruto began to gain superiority. After all, 2 Sharingans are better than 1. Deciding not to be petty, Sharingan Kakashi began to fold seals for one of the most destructive techniques from his arsenal. Doton, Earth Golem. After the name of the technique, an incomprehensible creature made of stone began to form around Jonin. When the technique was completed, the huge limb rushed straight at Naruto. Seconds remained before contact, as blue ribs with an armor appeared around the guy. Blocking Sensei's blow, Naruto Susanoo threw the golem away and it fell to the ground with a crash. Shadows began to appear around the remains of Hitachi's technique, soon forming a web. "You're on time, Shikamaru," the brunette smiled at his friend. "It's not all fun for you, Ino, your way out," Nara said, giving way to the blonde next to him. Yamanaka started using the technique, but then dropped her hands with a surprised face. "There's no one there." "Like no one?" "I clearly saw that after Naruto won, no one got out of it." Satsuki, who had just come up, was perplexed. "And so, at the last moment I managed to make a replacement," Jonin said in a calm tone when he came down. "I hate to admit it, but, you passed." "Passed? But we didn't take the masks, that is, we didn't fulfill the goal, and isn't that the main thing in the ANBU?" Satsuki started asking questions with incomprehension. The others nodded their heads to make it clear that they fully agreed with the girl. "This is one of the most important things, mutual assistance and teamwork, which you all perfectly demonstrated. And now, here are your masks. Naruto, from now on you are a fox. Satsuki is a falcon, Shikamaru is a python, Ino is a marten, Choji is a bear. Well, now that's it, I'm waiting for you here the day after tomorrow." Having given the masks, Kakashi hurried away along the way reading his book of dubious content. "Okay, see you, I have to go. Tell your sister to come to her father tomorrow." He wanted to solve some formalities. Satsuki said these words with anger. Seeing this, Naruto nodded and disappeared into the foliage. Walking on the way home, Kushina's son was looking for options for reconciliation with Satsuki. After all, he considered it abnormal that the younger sister could not tolerate the older one. To act out a scene with letters is stupid, and with anonymous ones, even more stupid. There is only one option left, just take it and talk to both at the same table. Deciding which day to choose for reconciliation, the brunette did not notice how he reached his house. In his small apartment, namely in the kitchen, the light is on, which indicates that Itachi, once again, is cooking something. Naruto has repeatedly said that she doesn't have to cook, especially for him. To these words, the girl just smiled sweetly, easily clicked the guy on the nose and continued to cook. Entering the apartment, Madara's grandson heard 2 voices, one, his fiancée, the other, an unknown. Itachi came out to the bell with some man. Naruto already wanted to smack the guest, as he was ahead of him. "Well, hello, godson, well, hello, godson." The gray-haired man greeted the guy. In the head of Madara's grandson, it suddenly became cloudy. Is the whole family of the guy the strongest shinobi of his time? The boy's whole life is getting more and more dangerous every day. If you look at the man standing in front of Naruto, it would be hard to guess that he is Sannin Konoha. An unremarkable protector with kanji oil, long and cloud-white hair, and a red-green robe. A slight smile graced the man's face, and his eyes expressed the boundless wisdom received during his life. This oppressive silence could have continued for a very long time if Itachi had not offered to go to the kitchen. The girl's fiancé, of course, agreed, since the fight with Kakashi-sensei had exhausted him considerably. Going into the kitchen, the brunette smelled his favorite dishes, ramen and his fiancé's signature cookies. Sitting down at the table, Minato's son immediately began to eat goodies. "Jiraiya-san, can you finally tell us about the reason for your arrival? I don't think you just came to stay," Uzumaki, Uchiha said without looking up from his meal. "You're right, I'm sorry that I didn't show up earlier, there were reasons for that. I have come to tell you about the coming danger, in the person of Danzo and another person. I don't know what they want from you, but didn't it seem strange to you that you were allowed to meet Madara, without any problems and surveillance?" "Yes, it surprised me, but I didn't attach any importance to it, considering it unimportant." Well, if the transfer of the strongest eyes is a trifle for you, then it's your truth," Sanin replied, sipping some tea poured by Itachi. "Do you know that, too? Anyway, is that all you wanted to tell me?" "Yes, and finally, beware of Danzo, he will give you a lot of problems," Sanin said and left the Uzumaki Uchiha house, thanking Itachi for the warm welcome. "Itachi, pack your things, we're moving and come to your father tomorrow." Naruto got up from the table and went to his room to pack. After packing, the brunette decided to take a walk through the night Konoha, as he did not want to sleep at all. Notifying Itachi of his departure, Madara's grandson left his apartment. Having reached the center of the village, Uzumaki Uchiha did not regret the decision to take a walk. The night Konoha was truly beautiful. The main street was very well lit, many merchants had already closed their shops. 13 years ago, the village looked completely different. Destroyed houses, pools of blood. All these are the consequences of the attack of the nine-tailed demon fox. Biju's attack on the village was equated with a real catastrophe or even a war. Only she could take as many lives as the demon. The third Hokage led the right policy. During the entire reign of Hiruzen, Konoha never initiated a war. Of course, the situation of the village could have been improved without the strong influence of the elders. Absolutely all of their decisions did not bode well. Take the same wedding with Itachi, they clearly broke the girl's life with their decision, because after the wedding you can forget about the shinobi career, it's too risky work. Naruto had already decided to head home when he felt the surveillance. A moment later, poisoned kunai and senbons fly at the guy. Evading the throwing iron was not difficult for the brunette. 3 root fighters, led by Shimura Danzo, appeared in front of Minato's son. "Naruto, I don't want to kill you and your loved ones, it's better to surrender voluntarily." The student of the second set his demands, slowly unwinding the bandages on his arm. Behind the white ribbons, the eyes of the murdered members of the Uchiha clan appeared. "A lot of Uchi killed. Why should I give up? If you don't call off your fighters now, then you won't get out of this battle alive." The activated Mangek Sharingan made it clear that the guy was not joking. "Ha, I expected you to answer exactly like that," Advisor Sarutobi said with a mad smile and gave the signal to his subordinates to attack Naruto. The fighters of the root, like a shadow, rushed at Uzumaki Uchiha, exposing their blades. Taking out the kunai, Minato's son was able to block the sharp blow of his rivals, pushing them away a decent distance. Deciding to attack first, the brunette folded the fireball seals. A huge cloud of flame rushed at the enemies, burning everything in its path. Before reaching the goal, the technique was stopped by a powerful flow of the element of water. Clouds of steam formed on the battlefield, limiting visibility. Naruto decided to take advantage of this situation and attacked the Danzo fighters. Purple discharges began to appear in the air, forming lightning. The first opponent fell to the ground with a punctured chest. With the help of his eyes, Madara's grandson noticed the approach of another Anbu. A slight movement of the hand and the opponent remains headless. The steam has already dissipated, presenting a view of the two killed shinobi. Naruto decided to end Danzo with one blow, just like the others. But it turned out to be not so easy. When Naruto's strongest technique had almost reached Shimura, he abruptly grabbed Uzumaki Uchiha by the arm and pulled the purple lightning straight into the ground. The head of the root was surprised by such an unusual jutsu, which deformed the earth's crust so much. Raising his opponent to the level of his eyes, Danzo pinned Kushina's son to the wall of a neighboring building with an accurate blow. "You're really strong, kid. But not enough to defeat me," the old man said, approaching the exhausted Naruto. "Do you have something to say in the end?" There is." Standing up a little and spitting out blood, the brunette used a technique for which he had enough chakra. Amaterasu. Black flames began to envelop the head of the root, leaving violent burns. The technique did not produce the desired result and was stopped. Konoha's advisor pinned Naruto to the ground with his foot, gradually pressing harder on the guy's body. "You're probably wondering why your chakra instantly evaporated? Everything is simple. The Suetun technique that stopped your fireball was impregnated with a special chakra-depleting poison. I need you for a very great purpose. I hope that you will not resist." "Badger, take him away," Shimura ordered his subordinate. Light pressure on the carotid artery caused Genin to lose consciousness. Naruto woke up in the middle of a huge room, tied to a chair with steel chains. The guy's head was ready to burst, from these unbearable smells of dampness and medicines. All attempts to escape ended in failure. The shackles also slowly but surely sucked the chakra out of Minato's son. Of the unusual sensations, only severe pain in the left eye socket, as if something was injected there. Looking under his feet, Uzumaki Uchiha saw a puddle of almost clotted blood. Suddenly, a distinct step began to press on my ears, most likely directed to this room. A man with a gray mask on his face and a tomo-shaped eye slot appeared from behind the door. "Oh, are you awake? Great. Who the hell are you?" Madara's grandson shouted, trying to escape and kill the insolent man. "How rude, Naruto-kun. I'm just a good person who gave you even more strength. And let's look at her." The masked man spoke and took out a kunai. The iron bit into the guy's leg, cutting through the flesh. "Just have to be patient." 3 senbons and a shuriken bit into the other leg, causing a wave of screaming from the brunette from this hellish pain. This torture continued for another 2 minutes, leaving only the eyes untouched on the body. The unknown man took out a small katana, which is used by the Anbu under the Hokage, and began to slowly inject it into the guy's stomach. More and more fresh blood began to accumulate under Naruto, forcing him to tear his voice from screaming. But the brunette did not beg for mercy. "He's above these geeks. And you know, your Itachi is very nice in bed," the man whispered in Genin's ear. "She begged me to stop, but I fucked her more and more like the last whore." And then Naruto was blown away. Anger overwhelmed him, preventing him from thinking straight. All I could think about was murder, that this freak didn't deserve his life. "Bastard!" The brunette roared in an inhuman voice. The guy's body began to be covered with demonic chakra, and his left eye began to turn red, taking the form of rings walking on the water surface. This means only one thing. Rinna Sharingan. The legendary Kagaya Otsutsuki Dojutsu has been awakened. The masochist opened his eyes in mad surprise and burst into hysterical laughter. It worked. Yes, kill them all. Your bloodlust is great. The unknown began to approach Naruto, as he encountered a vertical pupil and a new dojutsu. Seconds, and he swapped places with his test subject, receiving the strongest blow of purple lightning. The man slammed his chair into the wall. The brunette who flew up to him, began to beat him with diabolical force, sparing neither himself nor the opponent. "Toby, well done," the masked man managed to croak before being left without a chest. Behind the door of the room, familiar voices were heard for the guy. The brunette remembered Toby's words, and almost touched the team of Anbu Kakashi and the Konoha police, led by Uchiha Itachi, who came up. The condition of Madara's grandson led everyone to a considerable shock: disfigured clothes, a lot of blood and throwing weapons sticking out of the guy's legs. Satsuki and the guy's fiancée were the first to move away from the shock. They ran up to him, and hugging him from all sides, began to whisper soothing words. Fortunately, it all worked and Naruto disconnected from the loss of chakra. This time, opening his eyes, Genin noticed that he was in Konoha's main hospital. This was evidenced by the white ceilings and the Uchiha sitting on the edges of the bunks. Apparently, they had been sitting over it all night and had only recently fallen asleep. At the end of this event, Naruto became convinced that he had to put even more effort into cleaning this world of dirt. He is obliged to protect all those who are dear to him. Must. Life, how much is hidden in this, at first glance, simple, but very important for everyone word. It is divided into two stages, birth and death. These are two natural processes that no one has the right to violate. A person does not know when death will overtake him. Someone thinks that she should come in a dream, thereby not hurting others. Perhaps this is correct. In the world of shinobi, everyone has their own dream, goals, principles. One wants to protect his beloved and child, the other wants to become strong. If Naruto was asked what death is, he would probably answer, "Death is death, nothing more." That which will overtake everyone sooner or later. After such an answer, Satsuki would hug him tightly, saying that she would die only with him and only for him. Itachi would have supported her sister's words without hesitation. Funny, isn't it? Girls who are not deprived of male attention and love so cherish the grandson of a traitor, a murderer, the Shinigami incarnate? Yes. After all, it was he who made them feel alive, gave them his smile. That kid with jet black hair and funny fox mustache, that brunette they love so much. Having opened his eyes, Minato's son saw a snow-white ceiling, like early snow. The deathly silence and the periodic beeping of medical devices put a lot of pressure on my head. Deciding to stand up a little, which the brunette got through severe pain in all parts of his body, he heard the sound of a falling object. Madara's grandson, turning to the source of the noise, noticed Satsuki standing in the doorway of his room. In her eyes, all the feelings familiar to the guy were mixed: joy, sadness, excitement. Without hesitation, the girl rushed to Uzumaki Uchiha's bed and hugged him tightly. Just like before. Putting all the tenderness and love for this young man into this gesture. Without realizing it, the owner of the manjek replied to the young princess, burying his nose in her black and beautiful hair, inhaling their fragrance. She's here with him. He doesn't need any more, because the guy heard such a quiet, barely perceptible, "I missed you." He was also pining, madly. All these torments he endured only for the sake of these two princesses, whom he must protect at any cost, even at the cost of his life. Suddenly, the brunette felt that they were also pressed against him from behind. A girl with scarlet hair and cute scars near the bridge of her nose. Her hair still smelled of strawberries and mint. Salty liquid began to soak the guy's hospital shirt. They were tears of joy. And Kushina's son will make sure that his dear people never cry. This is his dream, no, his goal. Itachi sat down further away on a hospital bed and put her future husband's head on her lap. Small fingers began to sort through the black, slightly blue-tinged curls. Such an idyll could have continued for a long time if the eldest daughter of the head of the Uchiha clan had not interrupted her. How are you feeling? You've been lying here for 4 days, we were worried, don't you dare scare us like that anymore, okay? When we saw you there, at the base of the root, silver droplets began to fall on my forehead, trickling down my temples. Naruto put his hand on his bride's cheek and wiped away a new tear. The girl, in turn, pressed closer to the brunette's hand. New figures appeared in the window, already familiar to the young Uzumaki Uchiha, his team led by Kakashi. Naruto? You're awake. You made us nervous. Although we became a team not so long ago, but you all became a real family for me, which I lost too soon. The captain of the ANBU Special Detachment approached the brunette and pulled his unruly hair. I agree with Kakashi-sensei, we are already more than just a team. Ino, the second girl from the spec, gave her voice. Squad. The guy smiled at these words, he has people for whom he will do everything to protect them. He has to do it. Then the young genins talked about various things, about the upcoming holiday, about upcoming missions. By the way, Naruto, Hokage-sama asked that you, Itachi-san and Satsuki-chan, come to him. I'll transfer you with a shunshin, do you mind? Having received the consent from both sides, Kakashi folded the seals and, having spent a large amount of chakra, transferred his students to the most important building of the Hidden Leaf Village, the Hokage residence. In the middle of the spacious office stood 11 people, not counting the head of the village and 2 genins with jonin. All the people were wearing masks that did not look like one of the elements of the ANBU disguise. They were made of strange materials, unfamiliar to the guy. Hiruzen went to the window and blew out a small stream of smoke. Naruto, we knew that Danzo was involved in some dark dealings, but we did not have exact arguments in his accusation. Now that this was confirmed by a large number of people, he decided to escape, thereby putting on himself the stigma of a special class criminal. You're probably wondering who these people are. Minato, Kushina, I'm sorry to tell him ahead of time, but it's necessary. These are the 12 swordsmen of Uzushiogakure, the strongest of the strongest. They were the defenders of balance in the shinobi world, but now that the hidden whirlpool has been destroyed, they have taken Konoha under their protection. Your mother was one of that squad. Akira-san will probably explain further. Having finished his narration, the ruler of the hidden village sat down at his desk and blew out another cloud of smoke. Thank you, Hokage-sama. My name is Uzumaki Akira. I will not be crucified for a long time. I will say only one thing. Your mother loved only 3 things, the unborn you, Minato-sama and Akame. Approaching Naruto, he handed him a beautiful katana made in red and black style. At first glance, it looked like the legendary Kusanagi blade, but at the same time it was different. The clear contours betrayed her aggressiveness and resilience. There were a large number of seals on the katana, unknown to Madara's grandson. The brunette noticed an inscription on the handle of the weapon, written in calligraphic handwriting, Akame. This katana, Mom's? I will not confuse her beautiful handwriting, thank you. Having accepted the gift, the swordsman hurried away, leaving behind a cloud of steam and a black mask. It was made of leather and covered the neck, half of the face along with the left eye. A fox grin with a sewn zipper was made on the main part. Satsuki and Itachi helped Naruto get to his apartment and decided to stay with the brunette until he finally recovered. Still, arguing with one of the strongest kunoichi Konoha is a lost cause and the guy had to agree to custody. Not that it was unpleasant for the brunette, it was rather embarrassing for the fact that they devote so much time to him. The very thought of what might have happened if he hadn't woken up made the guy shiver. He would have caused the girl so much pain that it's scary to even think about it. With these thoughts, Naruto began to slowly fall into the realm of Morpheus. He needs to gain strength as soon as possible to begin completing missions and exhausting training. 10 minutes later, curses were heard in the kitchen in the direction of cooking and the affectionate laughter of the eldest daughter of the Uchiha clan. They were finally able to talk. All people on earth are mortal. Whether it's punishment or salvation, it's up to everyone to decide for themselves. A huge number of people die every day. To maintain a balance between life and death, there is birth. This balance can only be broken by a war that people start in pursuit of power, fame, or other, not particularly important things. In the shinobi world, everyone has dreams or goals. And Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto has not an imaginary, but a real goal, to protect everyone who is so dear to him. And he will definitely achieve this, despite all the difficulties that await them ahead. As long as they smile, he's alive. And this is the beginning of a new life. 3 months have passed since Naruto's discharge from the hospital. After that attack, the brunette decided to strengthen his training, considering that only he was to blame for his helplessness. With the development of his techniques, Fugaku was happy to help him. A small part of the inheritance that remained to the boy was returned to him. Namely, a huge cottage with a beautiful huge yard. During the period that Kakashi's team exists, they were able to complete 7 tasks of rank C, 10 tasks of rank B and 1 of rank A. As expected, the team of young geniuses, under the guidance of a skillful and no less brilliant shinobi, bore fruit. The appearance of Minato's son Rinne, Sharingan was decided to hide, for obvious reasons. As it turned out, Kushina's former katana was cursed by the very god of death, Shinigami herself. The curse was that anyone who was wounded by a weapon would die of a broken heart, even Jinchuriki was no exception. Naruto, along with Itachi, still went to an appointment with the elders of the Uchiha clan. They were asked monotonous and boring questions, which the young shinobi answered without hesitation. Towards the end of the meeting, they were told that the wedding would take place in 2 years, on the 26th of August. After the future spouses left the house of the head of the clan, Madara's grandson began to pour endless apologies on his bride for the spoiled life. To which the scarlet-haired woman smiled warmly and lightly flicked the groom on the nose with the words, "Don't be silly, I'm glad it turned out to be you." They did not raise this topic again, realizing that all the issues had already been resolved. The relationship with Satsuki, surprisingly, returned to normal. The girl became very attached to the new teammates, showing the true Satsuki-chan, a cheerful black-haired girl who loves to crack her slightly confused dobe. With Itachi, too, everything became as before. The scarlet-haired girl returned to herself a little mischievous and warm treatment, not San. Now the ANBU team, led by Kakashi, has stopped the main gate of Konoha. Shikamaru was complaining about the hot weather, Choji was chewing his favorite chips, Ino was talking about something with Satsuki, and Naruto was discussing details for a future report. Despite the great services to the village, the locals were still afraid of the brunette. They recognized him by a leather mask with a zipper and small filters, and by a bandage covering his left eye. But to be honest, he didn't care at all. He has people for whom he will do anything. Having already reached the Hokage's office, the young ANBU found the head of the village doing his favorite thing, smoking a pipe. "Oh, team number 3, ANBU Special Squad. You have managed in the time given to you, Naruto, Kakashi, I am waiting for an oral report." "Hi." In the process of completing the 11th mission of the rank B, there were no difficulties, the Nukanins were neutralized without causing serious injury and sealed. The road to the destination was calm, in principle, as well as back. This is the end of the oral report. The examiner, Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto, Genin, reported on the completion of the task Naruto. On such memorized phrases, the Hokage only sighed and got up from his usual place. Without turning around, Hiruzen decided to announce the next task for young shinobi. Good. Now I will give you a task of rank S. After Sarutobi's words, everyone clearly perked up, not expecting such a turn of events. They've only been in the ANBU for 4 months, and already a mission of this rank? Most likely, something is not world-class. One Naruto, unable to stand it, shouted. Get old, ahem, Hokage-sama, we just returned from a week-long mission and are terribly tired, aren't we supposed to rest? And, by the way, I don't live alone, Databi. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, Itachi-san is a smart girl, she understands everything. The words uttered by the head of the village made the guy blush a little. Fortunately, it was completely unnoticeable under his mask. As you all know, your Sharingan partner has a predisposition to all the elements. Also, everyone except Uchiha Satsuki has a predisposition to the element of water. The task of the mission is to find one of the Sanins, Tsunade, and ask her to train you. 1 day is given for training, that is, tomorrow you move out. Is everything clear? In response, a loud "Hi" was heard. And the complete disappearance of the entire group. Hiruzen only smiled at this action and sat down at his desk. The attention of the third student was attracted by a small paper folded in 2, mission report. I'm too lazy to write, so come up with everything yourself, old man. Kissing, hugging, purple lightning strike. Naruto, there was no limit to Sarutobi's indignation. This boy will still dance with him. It's a good thing that hatred and disgust didn't crush him. The next day, the entire ANBU team was assembled, except for Naruto and Kakashi. One, as always, is late, and the other is fed to death by one scarlet-haired Uchiha. It's creepy. All the team members were on pins and needles. Only one Shikamaru was quietly dozing under a lonely tree near the gate of the Hidden Leaf Village. Ino checks the presence of kunai, shurikens, explosive seals for the 5th time. And Satsuki is just waiting for him to throw a huge boulder at Dobe's head from the bottom of his heart. 20 minutes later, the whole team was assembled. Kakashi-sensei was reading another vulgar little book, and Uchiha Uzumaki was scratching his head, on which a mountain of stones had fallen a minute ago. Pulling a mask over his face, the guy confidently went to the exit of the village, not forgetting his phrase. Well, send, or something, Databi, to which I received a loud, yes, from everyone. The special team of the ANBU was already far enough away from Konoha. According to the instructions of the Hokage, one of the legendary Sanins, Tsunade, is located in the village of Hot Springs. This woman is a brilliant medic with unusual strength, as well as a very strong shinobi, a master of the element of water. Only a few people know about the hidden power of Hashirama's granddaughter. There is another funny fact, she is Naruto's godmother. Kakashi's team wondered for a long time how they could persuade Haim Senju to teach them. After much thought, only one idea came up, a battle. Although the young killers are inexperienced, they will be able to fight back. The fighters of the Hokage squad did not notice how the whole world plunged into twilight. This means only one thing, it's time to make a halt. 2 months ago, when they took ANBU courses, they were taught everything. Absolutely everything. From gestures that are needed on tasks to laundry. Fortunately, all this came in handy. Naruto and Shikamaru were setting up tents, Choji was making a fire, Ino was discussing something with Kakashi, and Satsuki was arguing with Naruto. How she was outraged when Madara's grandson refused to sleep with her in the same tent, citing freedom. This brunette, except Itachi, no one understands. Does what he wants and when he wants. Meanwhile, Kakashi was distributing the night duty schedule. Of course, it was possible to put up barriers, which Uzumaki Uchiha knew a lot, but because of the complexity and fatigue, it was impossible. 15 minutes later, Itachi called off and everyone went to their sleeping places. For several weeks, Naruto has been having the same dream. Huge catacombs, lots of water and a huge cage. The most interesting thing is that everything happens as in Java. So this time the brunette was captured by this place. This time, Kushina's son was still able to reach the room with this cage. Two scarlet animal pupils appeared in the darkness, carefully examining the unexpected guest. It was a huge creature with 9 tails and a ferocious grin. After all, they met, ha! The garbage finally appeared, eh? So you are, a 9-tailed demon fox, Madara's grandson stated the fact. At this statement, the strongest of the Biju only grinned and continued the dialogue. I hate the impudent face of Uchi, don't even hope for my strength. A nobody like you can't even exist. Get out of here. The demon growled and the guy was forcibly thrown out of his subconscious. Opening his eyes, Satsuki appeared sleeping on his chest in front of the Rinna Sharingan bearer. Still, she was able to sneak into his tent at night. Having barely escaped from the steel shackles, the guy went out into the fresh air. It's already starting to get light around, so it's time to move on. Kakashi-sensei was sitting by the fire, reading a novel by Jiraiya called, Come Paradise. For the ANBU team, it was no secret that their mentor was a pervert. Good morning, Naruto, Itachi greeted his subordinate, while not taking his eyes off the book. Morning, sensei. The brunette sat down near the dying fire and poured himself another hot tea, recently brewed by the son of White Fang. At such moments, it seemed to the young shinobi that despite their work, he was really happy. He has a loving fiancée, a best friend and a team. And he doesn't need anything else. After a while, the others began to wake up and slowly collect their things. An hour later, the shinobi continued on their way. At first, the road seemed very calm and easy, however, this idyll ended when the Hokage fighters felt the surveillance. Most likely, it was an S-rank nuke nin. An ordinary ninja doesn't have that much chakra. Realizing that he had been discovered, the spy decided to show himself. It turned out to be Kurigato Momochi, one of the mist swordsmen and, concurrently, Momochi Zabuza's brother. His cursed weapon was the twin Suijin blades. The katana given to Naruto is also demonic and the name of this weapon is Muramasa. According to legend, only the one who can master this blade is worthy of calling himself the god of death. So I was noticed after all, commendable. It's a pity that we won't be able to talk. After completing his fiery speech, the renegade shinobi rushed to the attack. The mist swordsman delivered fast and accurate blows to Kakashi, who in turn could only retreat in order to give his students time to prepare. Seeing Ino's signal, Itachi used a substitute and at the same moment 2 large fireballs flew at Zabuza's brother. These 2 techniques were stopped by a large water dragon, which, after absorbing the elemental techniques, headed towards the young shinobi. One moment, and Naruto appears in front of Kurigato with one of his strongest techniques, purple lightning. The electric discharge almost reached the target, but was quickly intercepted. The brunette had no choice but to go with his enemy to Kenjutsu. Blow, block, another blow. The screeching of metal resounded throughout the forest, deafening everyone around. Nuke Nin was able to use a small hitch of Kushina's son in his favor, throwing him a long distance away. Then Satsuki entered the game, bringing down a mountain of fire techniques on the offender. Suddenly, the girl jumps away from the mist swordsman and moves away from his line of sight. An attempt to go after Uchiha in pursuit instantly failed. Nuke Nin got into the shadow theater of the bunk. Bansho Tenon. After this phrase, the owner of the cursed blades was pulled in an unknown direction. Zabuza's brother spat out a small clot of red liquid. Blood. So his end came in this world filled with pain and death. Raising his gaze to the assassin, the swordsman met the scarlet Sharingan, full of indifference and contempt. He was killed by some boy. Laughter. A large enough pool of blood had already formed under the two assassins. Scarlet drops were falling from the Muramace that was still stuck in Kurigato's body. The red liquid rose unpleasantly to Nukanin's throat, causing him to cough. Die, people like you shouldn't hurt others, Madara's grandson said with a steely note in his voice. Unfortunately, the brunette was right. Momochi burned villages, killed women, children, spared no one. So the reckoning caught up with him. Pulling his blade out of his body and shaking the blood from it, Naruto inserted the weapon back into the sheath. We don't have much time, seal the corpse and the weapon, Shikamaru said, putting his hand on his comrade's shoulder. After receiving a positive nod, Uzumaki Uchiha took out a small scroll, in which a moment later, the body of one of the mist swordsmen rested. The rest of the road to the village of Hot Springs did not cause difficulties. 2 hours after the battle with Kurigato, the ANBU team got to the right place. This village was a resort place where you can relax and enjoy life. A lot of casinos, bars and, of course, baths, perfectly created an atmosphere of relaxation. Naruto many times offered Satsuki to go with him, after negotiations with Tsunade, to the hot springs, after which he received a strong blow to the jaw and an embarrassed look from Uchiha. The rest of the teammates only laughed loudly at such a strong mutual relationship between the best friends. Such a homely atmosphere was destroyed by a bar that appeared out of nowhere, from which a young woman flew out like a sunban. Village of Hot Springs. Previously, this village was part of the Great Kakurazato, but later, refused this title, giving its preference to a quiet and measured life. A large number of swimming pools, eateries, and casinos. This place quickly gained huge popularity, both among shinobi and ordinary residents. Many newlyweds, as a honeymoon, chose this village. The young ANBU, after arriving in the village, decided to split up and find their future teacher. In fact, you need to look in 2 places, bars and gaming halls. Just passing by one of them, Naruto and Satsuki noticed Sanin flash by. She was a girl of about 25, with rather long hair tied in 2 low ponytails. She is dressed in blue breeches, a light gray tunic with a large neckline on the chest and a light green cloak, on the back of which there is a kanji meaning gambling, cake. Tsunade-sama. Wait a minute. Itachi's sister said and started after the woman. Sighing heavily, Minato's son also decided not to linger and ran after his girlfriend. The pursuit did not last long, as the Haim of the Senju clan finally turned her attention to her pursuers, teenagers in the form of Anbu Konoha. Who are you? And why are you wearing this outfit? The woman's gaze was irritated and depressed. Hearing the question of the granddaughter of Shodai Hokage, the partners took off their masks and bowed in greeting. Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto and Uchiha Satsuki, Lady Tsunade. We are in the 3rd squad of ANBU Konoha. We have arrived for the purpose of further training with you. Training? You must be laughing. Why should I be teaching you? My answer is no, you can leave. Sanine turned around and continued on her way, not paying attention to the looks full of bewilderment. Clenching his fists and still not showing his gaze because of the bangs, Naruto tried to suppress his emotions with all his might. Disappointment, anger, misunderstanding, all these feelings instantly mixed up in the young Uzumaki Uchiha. Feeling a girl's hand on his shoulder, the guy looked at his girlfriend in surprise. Black, slightly disheveled hair tied in a ponytail. A light smile and such warm, burning with various colors, eyes. And smiles again. as if to say that the two of them can do anything. And so it was. Wait, Tsunade-sama. I understand that we are asking too much, but I have a suggestion. Let's fight. Our squad is against you. I think that the Heim of the Senju clan does not cost anything to defeat the Genins. The gaze of the blue eyes was full of determination. Looking attentively at her godson, Seinine opened her coffee eyes wide. The slug princess involuntarily remembered her younger brother who died in the war. A snow-white smile and a catchphrase, "I will become a Hokage, just like my grandfather." A single tear ran down the woman's cheek. "Okay, I'll give you a chance. I'm waiting at the training ground in 15 minutes. The rest of Kakashi's team appeared in the distance, disappointing their friends with the search result. Minato's-san told the others about the meeting. Shikamaru grunted heavily, anticipating the future fight. Young Nara was more of a tactician than a solid fighting figure. Loudly closing his book, Kakashi closed his eyes and sat down next to a lonely Sakura. Your opponent is not a Nukenin or a bandit, but a high-class shinobi. You can't beat her. Firstly, Naruto has not yet fully mastered his eyes and techniques. Secondly, Satsuki was slightly injured after a run-in with Kurigado. But we can do this. Training ground number 3. The training ground, where the battle of Genins from Anbu and Heim of the Senju clan was to take place, did not stand out with absolutely nothing, except for a large number of throwing weapons. Yugakure no Sato. They have long abandoned the difficult and dangerous life of shinobi, but there were still people who wanted to connect their lives with this difficult matter. Just because of them, these places have not yet overgrown with grass and have not turned into small clearings. And the ninjas of other villages were not averse to stretching. Tsunade stood leaning against a tree and looked at her newly arrived rivals. A blonde from the Yamanaka clan, Nara, a Kimichi and 2 Uchiha. Anyone would just get scared at the sight of such a team: tactician, support and vanguard. Most likely, they think so too. The Sharingan that Satsuki and Naruto have can bring a lot of problems. But a medic wouldn't become a Sannin if she could be scared with her eyes. A real shinobi shows himself on the battlefield. Okay, let's get started, it will be quick. The tension around began to escalate sharply. A dead silence reigned at the training ground. The rustle of leaves, like a light melody, spread around. With a sharp growl, Naruto appeared next to the woman, raising his hand for a direct blow. Tsunade was able to parry him without any problems and conduct a counterattack, sending her opponent into a long flight. Successfully landing, the brunette fell to his knee, spitting out a small blood clot. It became difficult to breathe, everything was swimming in my eyes. Once in the rear of Sannin, Satsuki was already ready to deliver a piercing blow with a kunai, but was stopped by a water wall. Only those who have fully mastered their element and spent a lot of time on it can use techniques without using seals. Jumping back a short distance, the girl used a fireball to get close to the shinobi medic. After the collision of the two techniques, a large curtain of steam was formed, which Naruto used, delivering an unexpected attack. Kato, the Royal Dragon. One of the most destructive techniques rushed at high speed on Tsunade. Having folded a number of seals, an equally impressive water dragon appeared next to the woman. The technique of the student of the third Hokage could not completely stop the fire dragon, but she did not receive a large amount of damage. Trying to use the new technique, Sannin noticed a lot of shadows with explosive seals near her. You're clearly holding back. But this is only to my advantage. This battle will end right now. Byakugo, Lord of the Chakra. A huge dent was formed under the woman from the force that rolled in an instant, and her body was pierced by many tattoos. All the Anbu abruptly collapsed. One Naruto could barely stand on his feet. Ino fell out of the tree, where she was waiting for the moment to attack, but Kakashi managed to catch her, whom the technique did not touch. Apparently, the battle is over. If you all could resist, then I would take you to study. And now, goodbye. Apparently, the battle is over. If you all could resist, then I would take you to study. Goodbye. Casting a contemptuous glance at the group of lying shinobi, Tsunade slowly moved away from the battlefield. A whole hurricane of feelings was spinning in Naruto's soul. Disappointment, sadness, anger. Another strong anger at himself, because it was his plan that did not work. He let his team down and did not complete the task. The brunette wants to scream from his impotence, from his insignificance. Taking more air into his lungs, Jinchuriki shouted. Wait! We can still go on. Using shadow clones, Uzumaki Uchiha helped his teammates to stand on their feet, relying on his copies. We haven't given up yet. Our task is to achieve your favor. And we will do it, because this is our ninja way. Sanin looked at Genin in surprise. All the members of the ANBU Special Squad were really on their feet. Naruto's eyes were full of determination and burning with excitement. This boy really has an iron will that, sooner or later, will change this world. Grinning, the woman approached Itachi's fiancé and left a weightless kiss on his forehead. From such a sudden gesture, the guy was taken aback, blushing deeply. Great! You have passed my test. Our training can be continued. Haim Senju was interrupted by Anbu, who had just appeared. Kakashi-senpai. Lady Tsunade. Yamato? Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be protecting the borders of the village? The mentor of squad number 3 briefly looked at the newcomer. Battered equipment, hair burned in several places. One gets the impression that he has just arrived from the battlefield. Yes, that was my task, but the village was attacked. The Uchiha clan is destroyed, the Hokage is dead, Itachi Uchiha is fighting the enemy. Daichi, the son of Fugaku, personally helps the attacker. Meanwhile, in the village of the Hidden Leaf, on the carved head of the third Hokage stood an unknown man with a strange mask and a huge gun behind his back. His gaze was directed at the burning settlement. Human screams could be heard all around. Black smoke, a giant cloud hung over the village. People were burning, suffocating. Most likely, only ashes will remain from Konoha after a while. Shinobi are trying to prevent a catastrophe and find the culprit, a man in a mask. So you ran away, coward. Daichi Uchiha, Fugaku's son, Itachi and Satsuki's brother, appeared behind the unknown. The brunette shook off the still fresh blood from his blade and caught up with his accomplice. All of Nukanen's clothes were stained with a scarlet liquid and in some places were singed. Nah. Oh, it's you, Daichi-kun. And I'm looking at the bonfire here. Do you want to join me? You know yourself that I didn't come to play dolls. The Uchiha clan has sunk into oblivion. The era of the damned shinobi is over. My part of the deal is done. Yes, yes, I remember everything. The girl will be returned to you. Yui, if I'm not mistaken. What an irony, to protect your beloved sisters, you destroyed an entire village. Although, somewhere deep down you hate Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha, despise him, revel in his blood. Tobi stood behind Mikoto's son and whispered. Because he's stronger. Daichi clenched his fists. That damn clown read it like an open book. Since childhood, so. Naruto is diligent, purposeful, talented. And what about him? Pathetic nods in his direction and the eternal, not bad. The brunette is tired of putting up with it. He will create a world where people will not suffer for lack of talent, a world where everyone will be happy. There was a rustle of leaves behind and Itachi appeared nearby. The girl put a kunai to her younger brother's throat. Rage, sadness and disappointment danced in the girl's gaze. The scarlet-haired one loved her Otto. Always sullen, but at heart a kind boy, so similar to their father. You still came, sister, the brunette sighed and activated the Sharingan. Unfortunately, you will not leave here alive. Oh. Daichi-kun. Let me deal with her. Well, please. Toby folded his hands in a pleading gesture and knelt down. With a doomed snort, Satsuki's brother began to suck in Kamui, leaving nothing from the guy. Great. You can start. Itachi abruptly shortened the distance and found herself right in the face of the enemy. The girl already wanted to strike with a kunai, but her hand was intercepted by a guy in a mask and easily threw Naruto's bride away. In the air, she scattered into many ravens, and black fire rushed into Toby. Amaterasu was completely absorbed by one of the ways of Rinnegan. Anticipating the actions of his opponent, the masked man prepared a blue flame. As soon as Uchiha appeared in sight, the full power of this technique immediately fell on her. One charred body remained of the scarlet-haired one. Coming closer, Nuke-Nin kicked the girl and she completely crumbled into many birds. Izanagi, then. It's good that she had time to figure it out. Otherwise it wouldn't be interesting. Okay, we need to leave before Naruto-kun returns. Heavy rain drummed on the roof, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Shinobi were rushing outside the window, helping the wounded and raking the rubble. A large number of houses were destroyed, only a small part survived. The civilian casualties were colossal. But the hardest blow to the village was the loss of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. He was truly a strong leader, a ninja. And at the moment when residents lose hope, they have no one to wait for help from. There was the sound of a door slamming and Satsuki walked into the kitchen, casually plopping down on the next chair. Her face was unnaturally pale, her lips were pursed, and her hair was very wet from the downpour. Taking a mug standing next to him, Naruto took a sip of some hot coffee. Exhaling heavily, the guy stared at the ceiling. Different thoughts crept into the head of the brunette, from the strangest to the most vile. He was slowly starting to hate himself. Alive, but very exhausted, the words did not want to come out of Uchiha's mouth. Her voice was hoarse and quiet. Her eyes were hidden by her wet bangs. Getting up from his usual place, Naruto went to the window. I'm leaving, lightning flashed on the street, and the rain began to beat even harder on the roof of the Uzumaki Uchiha mansion. Satsuki opened her tear-stained eyes in surprise. Her mouth opened in a silent scream, but she couldn't make a sound. An iron taste of blood appeared in my mouth. Itachi's sister bit her lip, so as not to scream heartrendingly. Tears sprang up with renewed force, flowing down the pale cheeks of the brunette. It was painful, unbearable, insulting, feelings played a fatal dance in her. Why? The girl threw a cursory glance at Naruto. He was shaking. The fists were clenched with such force that scarlet drops had already stained the floor. Turning to the interlocutor, the guy showed her an activated Manjek and Rinne Sharingan. Why? Yes, because I am weak. All this power, which is not able to protect, but only brings pain and suffering, why is it given to me? Answer me. The brunette fell to his knees and screamed with all his might. His left eye began to throb, releasing a frantic ki. Feeling the pressure, Satsuki rushed to the guy and wrapped him in her arms. The girl squeezed his t-shirt, trying to snuggle closer to Uzumaki Uchiha. Naruto did not lag behind and buried his nose in his girlfriend's neck. At such a moment, they don't need words, she has him, and he has her. It is not known how long they sat in this position, 10 minutes, half an hour, but the rain was still rustling outside the window. The teenagers' breathing became measured, and oppressive silence pressed on their ears. For them, the world has become something alien, something too uncomfortable. Naruto was the first to pull away. Getting up from his knees and brushing off his pants, he left the kitchen. The sound of the door slamming was heard. The guy left. Satsuki went to the window and saw the silhouette of the guy who quickly turned her life upside down. She'll be waiting. Minato's son quickly raced to the Hokage residence. It was one of the few buildings that were not damaged after the masked man's attack. Too many people have died, too many injured. Konoha Hospital was packed to the eyeballs. Just like 12 years ago, on the day of the Kyuubi attack. Approaching the office of the head of the village, the brunette hesitantly knocked and waited for permission to enter. The room was bright, there were stacks of papers on the floor. Tsunade was sitting in Hiruzen's place with her hands folded in a lock. Sanen's assistant, Shizune, was looking out the window, thinking hard about something. In addition to these two, there were Uzumaki Uchiha's partners in the office, who were sitting on the sofa at a distance from Haim Senju. Tsunade-sama, have you considered my offer? The woman sighed and leaned back in her chair. There was no response from Hashirama's granddaughter, but, taking out some kind of stack of papers, she called the guy to her. As you can see, Uchiha Itachi's condition is extremely unstable. I did everything in my power, but her right eye is blind, and there will be a scar on her face that I can't remove. Probably, this is a consequence of some kind of technique. The slug princess did not lie. Everything was written in the report exactly as she said. For the last time, after a cursory glance at the conclusion, Naruto gave the papers back. I'll ask you one last time, do you really want to leave? The brunette once again weighed all the pros and cons. It is dangerous for him to be in the village, not for himself, but for those whom he values and loves. Having unlimited power beyond the control of an ordinary person, he becomes the target of Tobi and Daichi. Remembering the guy's name, Naruto's rage boiled over. He will definitely pay for Fugaku-sensei, Mikoto-san and Itachi. Removing his katana from his belt, the brunette put it in front of him, as if showing it to everyone present. My grandfather knew only one seal of the Uzumaki clan of rank S, blood imprisonment. It seals the owner's weapon and the blade can be drawn only when there is an opportunity to shed the blood of a hated person. I, Uzumaki Uchiha Naruto, swear that I will bear my katana only to kill Uchiha Daichi. Kushina's son bit his finger and a small scarlet drop fell on his weapon, spreading black ornaments and shackling him. Everyone was amazed by this statement, but they could not object. Satsuki's brother had shed too much of someone else's blood. Shikamaru got up from his usual place and went to the wall. Shopping center. How problematic are you? Do you think we'll let you go alone? I'm coming with you. After Nara's words, Choji and Ino got up from the sofa. The blonde smiled and walked up to her friend, ruffling his unruly Smolny hair. We are two, you can't get rid of us that easily. Kakashi-senpai will become the new Hokage, so our squad will be disbanded anyway. Naruto was amazed, surprised. These guys are ready to drop everything and go with him, sacrificing their peace of mind. Uzumaki Uchiha stretched his lips in a pathetic semblance of a smile and squeezed out a pathetic, thank you. The next day was no different from the previous one, the same downpour and gloomy atmosphere. Minato's son did not return home, having spent the whole night at the residence discussing further travel and training. In order not to arouse suspicion, the absence of former ANBU will be due to the fulfillment of the S+ rank mission lasting 4 years. Already standing at the gates of the village, Naruto was looking forward to the day when he would return here again, but already able to protect people close to him. Become a true legend, like his father or grandfather. And, of course, get from Sasuke and Itachi for leaving so suddenly. When everyone was already assembled, the squad set off along the planned early path, the path to a new life. Hanami? This holiday has been celebrated since ancient times, when no one knew about shinobi. The celebration begins on the day of the cherry blossom. In all hidden villages, this day is declared a weekend. This even applies to Kage. In Konoha, this event is appreciated because it is here that you can see all the beauty of the holiday. Lots of entertainment, contests and, of course, the final salute. Ninjas and residents of different villages often come to the Hidden Leaf to enjoy this unforgettable sight. The new mansion of Uzumaki Uchiha has never been quiet. Even now, Itachi is already trying for the 100th time to persuade Naruto to go to the holiday together. He squints again and replies that he has absolutely nothing to do there. He's a shinobi. And she will sigh heavily again and tuck the scarlet strand behind her ear. Her lover is a complex person. He has incomprehensible principles, views on life, methods of solving problems. But she loves him. The way he is. A little sloppy, loud-voiced, but terribly handsome. Itachi felt herself blushing. To hide her embarrassment, she covered her face with her hands and sat down on the other end of the sofa. From behind the entrance to the room, a black-haired crown appeared, which slowly crept up to the unsuspecting Naruto. Her movements were smooth and unhurried, as if she was waiting for her prey. How long are you going to hide? Uzumaki Uchiha's voice stopped the girl. Her onyx eyes darted in different directions, as if trying to find something. Throwing back his head, Naruto looked at Satsuki with a questioning look. The younger Uchiha threw back her long hair and stood in front of her friend, proudly straightening her shoulders. She pointed her index finger in front of her and loudly declared, "We will go to the festival with you." Half an hour later, Naruto was walking down the central street of Konoha with his hands behind his head. He was wearing a new black kimono with the coats of arms of the Uchiha and Uzumaki clan. The soft spring breeze was blowing her long hair, and the sun's rays were intrusively climbing into her eyes. The village has rarely been so lively. Lots of decorations, signs. Beautiful kunoichi dressed in yukata. It seemed that you were transported to a completely different world, where there are no shinobi, bloody wars. Unfortunately, this is just an illusion of peace, which is necessary so that people do not lose themselves and their will. Expensive Naruto lay to the shop where you can find everything for Hanami. That's where Satsuki actually went, taking Itachi with her. Already approaching the right place, the guy noticed a married couple who, most likely, was heading to a holiday. The father had a barely noticeable half-smile, the mother was talking about something enthusiastically, and the child absorbed every word the woman said. From such a picture, Naruto raised the corners of his lips and he went into the same store. Among the various outfits, Satsuki was rushing around, and Itachi was watching her, who was already ready. The guy's bride was wearing a scarlet yukata with sky blue flowers curling like snakes. Her fiery hair was gathered, like her sister's, in a high ponytail. A couple of moments later, a younger Uchiha, dressed in a dark blue robe, got out from behind the curtain of the fitting room. From such a picture, Naruto was literally stunned and said only one thing, "You're beautiful, girls." Almost all residents of Konoha gathered on the square where the festival took place. From shinobi to ordinary citizens. Merchants invited to try their luck in their rides or try different goodies. Itachi and Satsuki's eyes were burning with a bright flame, and their mouths involuntarily opened. They are here for the first time, as is Naruto. Fugaku and Mikoto are two busy people, and they just disliked the blonde. Of course, nothing has changed since that moment, but now no one will attack him. Grabbing the guy by the hand, the girls ran through the first stalls they came across. The sisters grabbed everything they saw, sparing no expense. From apples and caramel, to plush toys that Naruto won. The whole celebration was already nearing its conclusion. The first flashes of fireworks are about to appear in the sky and loud cheers will begin to spread around. To get a better look at the fireworks, Naruto took the girls to the Hokage Rock, the highest place in Konoha. Itachi spread out a small blanket, and Satsuki took out food from the scroll. It would seem to be the most ordinary spring day, but it brought so much warmth and joy to everyone. And even now, when the sky lit up in different colors, and Satsuki brazenly involved the guy in a kiss, he does not regret that he came. Itachi tears the groom's lips from his sister's lips, and covers them with his own, but more insistently and passionately. After all, Naruto loves fireworks. A year has passed since Naruto left Konoha. In fact, this time flew by instantly. Training, finding a place where you can live comfortably. Tsunade, as promised, helped the guy with chakra control and mastering the techniques of the element of water. Uzumaki Uchiha's comrades also did not stay away, they must become stronger so as not to be a burden to their friend. For the whole 6 months, Naruto has been in another world. In the world of his summoning, dragons. To be honest, the guy was pretty surprised that he would be bound by a contract with them. It is believed that the strongest calls are toads, catsway and snakes. But this is a deep misconception, since there are billions of worlds identical to the dragon, and it is impossible to identify the strongest. In this place, time flows much faster. If 6 months have passed in the shinobi world, then here, too. This is very convenient, because mastering all the subtleties of senjutsu is difficult. But Naruto has been having the same dream for a long time. A large tunnel. The air is saturated with a heavy, poisonous chakra. It's hard to breathe, it feels like you're being strangled. The brunette wanders through this tunnel every night, but only today he found its end. A gigantic room, with a golden cage, and beyond it pitch darkness. Naruto comes closer to see who these shackles are holding back. The most terrifying creature that terrifies all living things is the nine-tailed fox demon. His eyes burn with a bright flame, releasing all the hatred that has accumulated in him. Well, here we are, the brat of the Uchi. Naruto looked at the reason for his difficult life and clenched his fists. The fox's hatred for his clan was insane. Although, Kyuubi himself is an accumulation of hatred. The guy began to slowly approach the cage. You do realize that I can take control of you with my eyes, right? The brunette's voice was quiet and calm, there was not a gram of sarcasm in it. The nine-tailed one bared his teeth and began twirling his tails, showing his rage. From behind the bars came a terrible thirst for murder. Even the most callous Nukanins could envy. If you just show Sharingan, I will instantly tear it out of your eye sockets. Naruto only grinned at such a threat, and then completely burst into infectious laughter. The strongest of the tailed ones was outraged by this attitude and he tried to touch Uzumaki Uchiha with his claws. Come closer and I'll kill you. Do you think I don't want to rip out my eyes myself? Kyuubi was taken aback by this question. Uchiha wants to tear out her own eyes? Do you know why I can't do it? Because I have a lot of responsibilities and a promise. I can't follow my selfish desires. By the way, I don't need your strength, don't worry. After finishing his speech, Naruto left his consciousness, leaving the Nine-Tails with a bunch of questions. This Uchiha is clearly different from the others. The fox folded his paws in front of him and put his head on them, sinking into a deep sleep. Who are you, brat? Naruto woke up on a spacious futon. The sun has been up for a long time. In the world of conscription, a small house was allocated for the guy. Of course, not his mansion in Konoha, but it's very comfortable to live. And he only came here to spend the night. Today is the last day of his stay on Dragon Mountain. He will officially receive the rank of Sannin and will be able to return home. After taking water treatments, the guy hurried to the main hall. This world was a real paradise. Lots of greenery, various animals and, of course, dragons. Naruto was already standing in front of the main hall, the heart of this land. This place was a large cave with a stone gate 50 meters high. In fact, such a simple design could withstand a Biju bomb, which is considered the most destructive shinobi technique. Inside there was a spacious room, completely made of stone and marble. The hall resembled the structure of the daimyo's palace of the Land of Fire. Opposite Naruto is a small structure that vaguely resembles a royal throne. On it sat the Dragon King, the strongest of them, Ryujin. Despite his intimidating appearance, he was a very wise and calm being. His blue scales shimmered blue, like the most expensive sapphires, and his eyes seemed to look into the soul. "You're late, Naruto-kun," the dragon's voice was loud, but it did not inspire fear. In addition to senjutsu, Uzumaki Uchiha trained his emotions, which can lead to death if not taken under control. Ryujin personally trained the guy, as well as his predecessor, the first master of the dragon style, Senju Hashirama. "Please forgive me, Ryujin-sama," Naruto bowed in a deep bow, and then looked up at Sensei full of determination. The dragon broke into a satisfied grin and continued. "You're as polite as ever, just like Hashirama-kun. Today you have completed your training, fully mastered Dragon Taijutsu and Sannin mode. You did a good job. Thank you very much. I am very grateful to you for agreeing to teach me." The brunette broke into a smile and awkwardly scratched his head. Suddenly, there was a loud bang of the entrance gate all over the hall. A young girl entered the room, who was persistently approaching Uzumaki Uchiha. "Naruto-kun. Are you really leaving me?" The young lady pressed her whole body into the brunette and looked at him with a lustful, loving look. This girl had straight, silky black hair, slightly pointed ears and long nails. Her light kimono opened an overview of her milky, still untouched skin, and snow-white teeth nibbled on her plump lips. "Shia. Get off the guy. He already has a fiancé." To such a statement, the girl only snorted into her small fist and stretched her lips in a soft smile. Standing on tiptoes, reducing the difference in their height with Naruto, she languidly whispered in the guy's ear, "Nothing. She's not a wall, she can be shifted a little." Giggling merrily, she continued to snuggle up to the brunette. Uzumaki Uchiha blushed. He didn't see such closeness and assertiveness even from Itachi. Forcefully pushing Ryujin's daughter away from him, the guy began to fold the seals for the callback. Cotton, and only a white haze remained from Naruto, which disappeared after a moment. "See, he ran away from you. I've offered you a lot of other options, why don't you just keep up with the young man?" The Dragon King sighed and looked at his daughter with a tired look. Shia lowered her eyes to the floor, and her shoulders began to shake, but not from tears at all, but from the bubbling laughter with which she lit up the whole hall. "So it's wonderful. He was so rude to me, oh. Left and didn't even say goodbye. And his shifty gaze? So exciting. I fell in love with him even more." The callback was moved to the same place from where Naruto started his training, namely, Uzushiogakure. The first 6 months after leaving Konoha, his group spent it in search of this beautiful place. The village of the Whirlpool was a small archipelago consisting of 3 islands. The first one is commercial and residential. It was the largest market in Uzushio, and here you could find goods from other villages. Also, ordinary citizens who were not engaged in the craft of shinobi lived here, but were still counted among the Uzumaki clan. The second island is dedicated to ninja. There was an academy, shops with equipment, and also active shinobi lived here. All conditions were created for the students, 9 spacious polygons with the latest Fuin seals, discounts on throwing weapons and the best teachers. The third is the central or Yuzukage Island. It housed the main square of the village, the residence of the head of Uzushio, the houses of his family and advisors. This island means a lot to every Uzumaki, because there used to be monuments to the past Kage, which were destroyed during the First World War by shinobi. Naruto appeared on this island and noted that the 200 clones left here had put a good order. The residence has acquired a presentable appearance, and one of the mansions has been completely reconstructed. Someone slapped the guy lightly on the shoulder from behind. Haven't seen you for a long time, have you finished yet? Shikamaru could barely stand on his feet. There were huge bags under his eyes, and a pile of papers pulled his body to the ground. Yes, he's back. But what happened while I was gone? When was the last time you slept, Dadabayo? Naruto raised his eyebrows in surprise and snatched the papers from his friend's hands. Nara sighed blissfully and straightened up, crunching his back. I've only slept for an hour in 5 days. I'm sitting on combat pills, so as not to fall back completely. Tsunade-sama is just a monster, the former brain of the ANBU trainees grimaced, remembering all the tortures that Senju subjected them to. They moved towards the residence, chatting about various things along the way, about the weather, about the restoration of the village. Shikamaru looked at the sky, and without taking his eyes off said, "It's been a year. When are you thinking of coming back?" Naruto's gaze became focused and serious. Of course, he had already thought about it, but he had not made a final decision. Too much has not been done yet. You know. I think Kakashi-senpai has become a good Hokage. He won't let the girls disappear. I promised Fugaku-sensei that I would take care of them. In a year, Itachi and I should have a wedding. If she still wants to hold it, then I don't mind. Konoha has taken too much from her, she will probably agree to come. What about Satsuki? You love her, don't you? I'm nothing to her, just a friend. Of course, if she wants to go too, I won't mind. Naruto closed his eyes and sighed in resignation. It's very complicated, Shikamaru. Don't worry, everything will get better, because we are with you. The Yuzukage residence turned out to be surprisingly very spacious. On the ground floor there was a waiting room with an office for a secretary and advisors, a lot of furniture and lighting. You can live in such a place. On the second floor there was already the office of the head of the village. It was all built by Naruto's friends and his clones. Unbelievable. Shikamaru took the papers from his friend and disappeared behind the door of the advisor's office, saying that he would catch up a little later when he settled all the remaining cases. Already approaching Kage's office, a blonde head crashed into Uzumaki Uchiha. The girl looked up and her eyes widened in surprise. Naru, that? Ino opened her eyes even more and smiled brightly. She hasn't changed much in 6 months. All the same blue eyes, a beautiful figure and charming wheat-colored hair tied in a braid. Yamanaka hugged her friend in a friendly way and began to fill up with questions. Naruto grinned and stopped the verbal flow of his girlfriend with a question, "Is Tsunade herself at home?" The blonde stopped and shook her head negatively. "She is now at the landfill, which we managed to restore. I will guide you. The Whirlpool village is huge. If Konoha is now considered the largest village, then in the future it will lose this title. There were many trees and bushes growing on each island. The houses were built in a completely different style, even the cheapest houses looked like elite ones in a hidden leaf. Each island is connected by large bridges, which, surprisingly, were not damaged at all. The entire Uzushio is covered by a giant barrier, the complexity of which is difficult to imagine. He hides the islands, showing the enemy only the blue ocean. If we rely on this information, then there was a traitor among the Uzumaki. There is no other way to win this place. The motives of the others are clearly understood and predictable. Uzumaki is a strong ally and a formidable enemy. There's no way to change that. Naruto and Ino were already approaching the right place. Immediately the guy noticed that the training ground is incredibly spacious. There are targets, training dolls and seals, which are probably still preserved. Seeing her student, Tsunade lifted the corners of her lips. The woman was incredibly happy that this fool returned unharmed. "He's back, you blockhead," Senju stated the fact. "Where did Akame lose it?" "I have it in print on my brush. Dragons don't really like cursed weapons." The guy smiled brightly and hugged the woman. No matter how she laughed at him, beat him half to death, she was able to give him the love that Naruto craved so much, maternal. The slug princess lost her lover, brother, and so did not start a family, fearing to lose everything again. "I'm so glad to see you, Mom." Tsunade was stunned and squeezed the guy even harder in her arms. When they all left Konoha together, the brunette began to suffer the same nightmare. Senju did not really want to sleep and she decided to replace Shikamaru on duty and sit by the fire. That's when Uzumaki Uchiha dropped this word from his lips, "Mom." Then the woman realized that under the mask of a serious, confident guy and friends, there lives a 14-year-old boy, an orphan. That night she hugged him to her and answered his plea, "Yes, Mom is with you." Recoiling from each other, Senju offered to hold a little sparring in order to see what Uzumaki Uchiha learned in a year. Naruto's lips stretched into a furious grin, "Just don't regret it later." The battle began with an exchange of quick blows. Tsunade was not inferior to the student, and even slowly gained superiority, until Naruto activated the Sharingan. The attacks of the brunette became faster and more confident, and the rivals became more noticeable for him. Hitting the ground, Senju caused the soil to shake, cracks went through it and Uzumaki Uchiha had to jump back to a safe distance. After folding the seals, the guy sent water spikes to the teacher, which would surely have killed her if not for the replacement technique. The princess moved 7 meters to the left in order to catch the student by surprise. Unfortunately, the sound of electricity and Naruto appeared behind her, ready to strike a decisive blow. The purple lightning stopped a couple of centimeters from Senju's face. The brunette deactivated the technique and smiled triumphantly, holding out his hand with a protruding thumb. "I got you, Dadabayo." Tsunade sighed and smiled too. A year of training was not in vain. "But how did you get behind me?" "It's simple. This is one of Rinna Sharingan's abilities, teleportation. It is impossible to predict or stop it, however, a lot of chakra goes into it." The woman laughed and easily punched Naruto in the shoulder. "You're doing great. Ino, it's time for us to go to the residence. Shikamaru and Choji are probably already waiting." And a group of former Konoha shinobi set off, exchanging various information. This is probably the first step in the revival of Uzushio. That's the end of it.